Hello everyone, I hope you have performed well in your third UNUBHAV test. In this section, we will be discussing the geography question of the test. So let's begin with our first question. The first question is question 42. Question 42, it says a seismograph is placed at a point on the earth's surface lying diametrically opposite to the epicenter of an earthquake as shown in the diagram below, right? So basically earthquake has occurred here, right? So this will be the focus, right above it, this will be the epicenter, and seismograph has been placed here exactly diametrically opposite. So this will be making angle of 180 degree from the epicenter, right? And the question is asking which of the following is correct with respect to the given condition. The seismograph will record S wave, P wave. So basically, first of all, this is a question from the topic geomorphology. Geomorphology, right? This is a very important topic from prelims exam point of view. If you see, 1 to 2 questions are asked from this topic almost every year, right? And if you analyze the trend of previous year question, UPSC focuses upon 2 areas within this topic. The first is endogenic forces, and the second one is exogenic forces. And within endogenic, if you see the previous year question trends, UPSC puts a special emphasis on earthquake and volcano, right? And likewise in exogenic forces, UPSC puts special emphasis on weathering and erosion, right? So that's why a question based on earthquake has been put in your test here, right? And if you see, this particular question aims to test your knowledge of shadow zone, right? So this particular question is based on the concept of shadow zone. So first we will see the underlying concept and then we will come back to our question. So as you all know, the structure of earth is something like this. This is lithosphere, this is upper mantle, this is outer core, and this is inner core, right? So this outer core, this one is in liquid state, rest this and this is in solid state, right? And as you must be knowing, earthquake waves are of 2 types. First is body wave and second is surface wave, right? And there are 2 types of body waves. First is P wave and second is S wave, right? So our question is based on P wave and S wave only, right? So let's understand them in a bit detail. P wave is basically a longitudinal wave, so it can travel in solid, liquid as well as gas, right? On the other hand, S wave is transverse wave, so it can travel only in solid, not in liquid and gas, right? S wave cannot travel in liquid and gas, right? So based on this these behavior of P waves and S wave, there are some regions on the earth where some of these waves are not recorded, right? And those regions are called, let's say this is the region where some waves are not being recorded. So this particular region will be called shadow zone for that particular wave, right? And the question aims to test the knowledge regarding shadow zone only, right? So let's first understand the shadow zone with respect to both these waves, and then we will come back to our question. So let's say an earthquake occurs here, right? This is the focus of earthquake, and first let's see what is the condition, what is the situation regarding P waves, right? So earthquake occurs here and P waves start to travel from here in all the direction, right? So it will travel like this, and like this, right? Now as soon as P wave encounter the outer liquid core, right? Since P wave is a longitudinal wave and it can travel through liquid, right? So it will penetrate through this liquid outer core, but what happens that at this boundary, that is when it is entering from solid mantle to liquid outer core, it gets refracted, right? So it gets deviated from its path, right? Again when it is leaving the outer liquid core and again entering into mantle, it again gets deviated from its path, right? So that means the first P wave that will encounter the outer liquid core will actually travel in this path, right? So likewise in this direction also P wave will travel in all the direction, and P wave up to here will travel usually, but the first one which encounters the outer liquid core will actually travel like this, right? So that means a region from here to here on both the sides of earthquake will not be able to record P wave, right? P wave will be reaching from here to here and then from here to here, not in this zone, right? So these two zones are basically shadow zones for P waves, right? And based on observation, these two angles have been found to be 105, that is this angle is 105 and this angle is 145, right? In our case the seismograph is placed here, right? So that means seismograph is placed here, right? So P wave will be reaching here, P wave will be recorded by the seismograph. If the seismograph was placed here or here, P wave would not have been recorded by seismograph, right? But our seismograph is placed here, so P wave will be recorded by the seismograph, right? So this is the condition regarding P wave, right? Now let's see what happens to S wave. So again let's say an earthquake occurs, right? So S wave will start traveling in all the direction, something like this. S wave will travel up to here usually, right? But as soon as S wave encounters the outer liquid core, it cannot penetrate into liquid, right? Because it's a transverse wave, so it cannot travel within liquid, right? So that means it will stop here. Likewise this side also S wave will travel up to here, but as soon as it encounters the outer liquid core, it will stop here itself, right? So that means S wave will be recorded only in this region, right? This whole region will be shadow zone for S wave, right? And in our case the seismograph has been placed here, so this will not be recording S wave, right? So the correct answer here will be seismograph will record P wave but not S waves, right? So B is the correct answer here. Now let's move on to the next question, that is question 43. Which of the following are likely to strengthen the southwest monsoon system in India, right? And then names of some jet streams are given: tropical easterly jet stream, Somali jet stream and westerly jet stream, right? And the question is asking which of them will actually strengthen southwest monsoon system in India, right? So first of all, this is a question from the topic climate of India. Climate of India. This is a very important topic from prelims exam point of view, right? On an average you can expect at least one question from this topic every year, right? And if you analyze the trend of previous year question from this topic, UPSC focuses mostly on monsoon system, monsoon system, right? So that's why this question based on monsoon has been put in your test, right? And if you see, this question actually is testing the role of external factors that influence southwest monsoon system in India, right? So among the various external factors that has its effect on southwest monsoon system, there are three jet streams. They are tropical easterly jet stream, Somali jet stream and westerly jet stream that influence southwest monsoon system in India, right? So let's first see the underlying concept and then we will come back to our question. So this is our India, right? So first of all, let's understand what exactly is jet stream, right? So jet stream is nothing but a narrow band of fast moving wind in upper atmosphere, right? So it moves like jet in a narrow band in the upper atmosphere, right? That is what is called jet stream. And there are two permanent jet stream, that is subtropical jet stream, and the second one is polar front jet stream, right? So this one moves at around latitude of 30 degree in both north and south hemisphere, and this one moves at a latitude around 60 degree, right? And both these jet streams move from west to east, right? So they appear coming from west, right? So that's why this one, subtropical jet stream, is sometimes also called westerly jet stream. Westerly jet stream, right? And if you see in our question, one jet stream given is westerly jet stream only, right? So let's see how westerly jet stream flows and what is its impact on Indian monsoon system. So it flows at around latitude of 30 degree, something like this, right? This is how it flows in upper atmosphere, right? And as soon as it enters the Indian landmass, it encounters Himalaya here, right? So in the influence of due to obstruction by Himalaya, what happens that this jet stream gets bifurcated into two branches. One moves north of Himalaya and other moves south of Himalaya over the Indian landmass, right? So this one moves north of Himalaya over Tibetan Plateau, and this branch moves over Indian landmass, North Indian landmass, south of Himalaya, right? So this is our westerly jet stream. Westerly jet stream, right? So this is how westerly jet stream flows during the period of September to May, right? This is how it flows over India, right? So because of its presence over Indian landmass up to the month of May, a low pressure region on the ground does not get developed, right? So what happens that during the month of April and May, the Indian landmass, at least in northern India, gets sufficiently heated, right? So ideally a low pressure situation should have got created in April and May itself, right? But since there is presence of this westerly jet stream in the upper atmosphere, this hinders the creation of low pressure region on the ground. Why? Because from this upper moving jet stream, air subsides on the ground, right? So this jet stream is flowing in the upper atmosphere. From there, air keeps on subsiding at the ground level, right? So this subsiding air does not let low pressure get created in northern India during April-May, right? Despite being sufficient heat, right? But what happens that towards the end of May or by 1st of June, right? This branch of westerly jet stream withdraws itself from over India, right? So this branch gets cut off, basically withdrawn from over India, and this jet stream remains confined only to this branch only, right? So as soon as this branch withdraws from over India, right, now this subsiding air is gone, right? So all of a sudden a high low pressure zone gets created all over North India, right? And that's the low pressure which attracts the southwest monsoon in this direction, right? So that means a strong westerly jet stream will actually weaken the southwest monsoon, not strengthen it, right? Southwest monsoon is coming to India only after this westerly jet stream has withdrawn from over India, right? So that means a strong westerly jet stream will not strengthen, rather weaken the southwest monsoon, right? Now let's see what is this tropical easterly jet stream, right? So this is the Tibetan Plateau region. It is located something like this, right? So this is completely a rocky region, right? So during the summer months, what happens that this plateau gets sufficiently heated, right? And because of that, air from this plateau rises up in the atmosphere, right? So air gets heated and then rises above the plateau. So because of rising air, a high pressure zone gets created over Tibetan plateau in the summer month, right? Then from this high pressure zone, air starts to move towards Indian Ocean region, right? Something like this. But then Coriolis effect comes in, right? And this air gets deflected something like this. So it does not move in a straight line, rather in a curvilinear path, something like this, right? And this is what is known as tropical easterly jet stream, right? So this air which is moving from Tibetan plateau in upper atmosphere towards Indian Ocean region is what is known as tropical easterly jet stream, right? And this jet stream moves in this path up to this region, right, near Madagascar and Mauritius, and then the air from this jet stream subsides to the oceanic level, right? This is moving in upper atmosphere, it reaches up to here, then from here air subsides to the oceanic level, right? So because of subsidence of air from this jet stream, this region gets high pressure, right? There is already high pressure in this region during the summer month. Because of subsidence of air from this jet stream, this high pressure region in this high pressure basically in this region gets strengthened, right? So because of this strengthened high pressure, the southwest monsoon that is moving in this direction gets a push, right? Because high pressure has increased in this region, so it will give a greater push to the southwest monsoon. So because of this, the southwest monsoon moves a little faster, right? And this is what causes onset of monsoon in India, onset of monsoon, right? So that means if tropical easterly jet stream is stronger, it will create a stronger high pressure and it will give a stronger push to southwest monsoon. So it will strengthen the southwest monsoon, right? So that means this one is correct. A strong tropical easterly jet stream will actually strengthen the southwest monsoon. Now let's see the remaining second one here listed, basically strong Somali jet stream, right? So let's see what exactly it is. So Somali jet stream is again a jet stream that moves at altitude of around 2 to 3 kilometer. It does not move at a very great height, it just moves at around 2 to 3 kilometer height only, right? So from here there is high pressure zone in the summer month in this region, right? So from here air starts moving towards this in the upper atmosphere. After crossing the equator, it takes a bend like this, right? And it then moves towards western coast, right, and this is all these are happening in upper atmosphere. So this appears to be coming from, this is Somali coast, if you know, this is Somali coast, Somalia. So this appears to be coming from Somali coast, so that's why this is known as Somali jet stream, Somali jet stream, right. So this jet stream that is moving from Somali coast towards western coast of India actually helps the southwest monsoon that is moving on oceanic surface level reach towards India, right. So that means a strong Somali jet stream will actually strengthen the southwest monsoon system. So that means 2 is correct, right, only third is incorrect. So the correct answer here will be A, 1 and 2 only, right. Now let's move on to the next question, that is question 44. In the context of soil degradation, consider the following information. Some types of soil degradation is given and its cause and treatment is given, right. So first of all, it's a question from the topic agriculture, right. This is a very important topic from prelims exam point of view. You can expect 1 to 2 questions from this topic almost every year, right. And if you analyze the trend of previous year question, right, recently UPSC has been focusing on sustainable agriculture. Within this topic, agriculture, right, within this topic UPSC is putting a special emphasis upon this sustainable agriculture topic, right. So that's why a question based on soil degradation has been put in your test. Soil degradation is also a topic that is related to sustainable agriculture, right. So let's read the given types one by one. The first one is soil salinization. Soil salinization. So as it is clear from the name itself, soil salinization is basically increase in salinity of soil, right. So when the concentration of saline material increases in the soil becomes saline, and that is called soil salinization, right. So soil salinization occurs naturally, right. So what happens that salt leaches from the parent material that is lying in and around the soil and gets added to the soil, right. So that is one natural cause of soil salinization. But apart from that, one of the most prominent man-made cause of soil salinization is excessive irrigation, right. So what happens that when we irrigate a soil, we are adding water from external source to the soil, right. So that irrigation water brings along with it some salt that gets added to the soil, right. So when this irrigation is balanced, right, the salt that is added to the soil through irrigation water gets used by plant and the soil, right. But when the irrigation is excessive salt comes to the soil and that gets accumulated over the soil, right, because all of them does not get used by plant and soil. So some gets accumulated over soil, and that's how soil salinization occurs. So excessive irrigation is one of the most prominent man-made cause of soil salinization, right. So this is correct. Now coming on to its treatment, adding gypsum to the soil, this is correct, right. Gypsum is basically CaSO4 2H2O. So it is basically a calcium sulfate, right. So when we add gypsum to the soil, what happens that it performs certain reaction, right, and actually binds with the salt ions, right, and that the new material that is formed by the reaction is actually soluble in the water, right, that gets dissolved in the water and then moves along with the running water, right. So adding gypsum to the soil is the correct treatment for soil salinization. That means first row is correctly matched, right. Now let's see the second row, soil acidification. So soil acidification is basically accumulation of acid in the soil, right. So pH of the soil decreases because of increased concentration of acidic material in the soil. So there are two prominent causes of soil acidification. First of them is excessive use of nitrogen based fertilizers, right? When we make excessive use of nitrogen based fertilizer, what happens that when we add nitrogen based fertilizer to the soil, it first gets converted into nitrate, right? Because plants cannot use nitrogen directly, they have to be first converted into nitrate, right? So this process of conversion from nitrogen to nitrate actually releases H plus ion, right? So that means concentration of H plus ion in the soil increases, right? So this makes soil acidic. So this is the most prominent cause of soil acidification. Apart from that, buildup of organic matter is also a prominent cause of soil acidification, right? How? When there is buildup of organic matter, what happens that when this organic matter decomposes, right, its decomposition, the process of its decomposition actually releases CO2 gas, right? This CO2 gas then combines with H2O and forms carbonic acid, right? And this is acidic, so this makes the soil acidic. So this is also a prominent cause of soil acidification, right? Now coming on to its treatment, adding lime to the soil, this is correct. Lime is basically CaO, calcium oxide, and it is an alkaline material. So when you add an alkaline material to the acidic soil, it will react with the acid of the soil and neutralize that acid, right? So it will help in treatment of acidic soil. So this is also correct. So that means second row is also correctly matched. Now let's see the third one. Third one is soil alkalinization. So soil alkalinization is basically build up in alkaline concentration. So that means pH of the soil will increase, right? And the prominent reason for soil alkalinization is increased aridity, right? So what happens that, let's say this is a soil surface, right, and it is facing arid condition. Arid condition means temperature is very high outside, right? So because of this high temperature, what happens that osmotic pressure in the pores of soil gets increased, right? So because of that, carbonates and bicarbonates leachage upward, right? Pores get open and there is high osmotic pressure from below the surface to the surface level, right? So because of that, carbonates gets leached upward, right? And they come to the soil surface and gets accumulated. And these carbonates are basically alkaline, so they make the soil alkaline. So this is one prominent reason of soil alkalinization, increased aridity, right? Coming on to its treatment, adding ammonia to the soil, right? This is not correct. Ammonia itself is alkaline. Ammonia is an alkaline material. So if you add an alkaline material to already alkaline soil, it will further increase the pH, right? So this cannot be a treatment, right? In fact, for treating alkaline soil, there are two prominent treatments for alkaline soil. First is proper irrigation. So when you do proper irrigation, it will take away the effect of aridity, right? And this leaching of carbonates upward will stop. So it will automatically treat the alkaline soil, right? Now second method is, second actually treatment that helps treat the alkaline soil is adding gypsum, right? So when you add gypsum to the soil, it also helps in treating alkaline soil, right? So that means third is not correctly matched, first two is correctly matched. So the correct answer here is B, only 2, right? Now let's move on to the next question, that is question 45. Consider the following statements. Statement 1, coral reefs are generally absent, right? So first of all, this is a question from the topic Oceanography. Oceanography. This is an important topic from prelims exam point of view, right? You can expect 1 to 2 questions from this topic every year, right? And if you analyze the trend of previous year question, UPSC focuses on areas like ocean current or ocean resources, right? So that's why a question based on coral reef has been put in your test, right? So let's read the question. First statement says coral reefs are generally absent on western coast of continents, right? This is a correct statement. Let's see how. So this is the map, world map showing presence of coral reefs across the world, right? So the red thing that you see are actually coral reefs, right? And if you see, all the major coral reefs are actually located on the eastern side of continent, right? Here also you can see, here also you can see, all these are located on the eastern side of continent, right? If you see the western side of continent, coral reefs are mostly absent or present in very restricted form, right? So this is what this statement is saying. Coral reefs are generally absent on the western coast of continents. This is a correct fact, right? So what is the reason behind such a behavior? Let's see the reason and then we will come back to our question. So what happens that on the western side, if you see western coast of continent, there is presence of cold ocean current, right? So for example, if you see, there is California current moving here, California current, right? Likewise, there is Peru current moving here, there is Benguela current here, Benguela current, then there is Somali current here, likewise here there is West Australian current, all these are cold current, right? So cold current means they are moving from polar region towards equator, right? So what they do, they actually bring the cold water from polar region towards the western coast of continent, right? So because of coming of cold water through this current, the temperature on the western coast of continents decreases, temperature decreases, right? Now as you know, coral reefs are very temperature sensitive organism, right? They thrive only in a very narrow temperature range of 20 to 30 degrees Celsius, right? If temperature falls below 20 degree, they cannot thrive, and if temperature rises above 30 degree, again they cannot thrive, right? So because of the presence of cold current on the western coast of continents, temperature goes below 20 degrees Celsius, and that's the reason coral reef does not grow on the western coast of continents, right? So the second statement here, generally cold ocean currents flow along the western coast of continents. This is a correct statement and this explains statement 1, right? Now let's read the third statement. Western coast of continents witness upwelling of water. This is also a correct statement. Let's see how. So what happens that on the western coast of continents, there generally is offshore winds. Offshore winds means winds that is moving from land toward ocean, right? So generally offshore winds are present along the western coast of continent. So what these offshore winds do, let's say offshore wind is moving here. So this wind will actually displace the surface water near the coast and it will move it along with it and it will basically take away from the coast, right? So because of this displacement of surface water, a void is created near the coast, right? And in order to fill that void, water from below the surface moves upward, right, and takes its place. Right? So this is what is called upwelling. This process is called upwelling, right? Upwelling means water from below the surface is moving upward to replace the surface water, right? Now water that is coming from below the surface is relatively colder as compared to the surface water, right? So because of upwelling, what happens that the warmer surface water is replaced by the colder lower water, right? So because of upwelling, temperature will decrease, right? So this again is a prominent factor which does not let coral reefs grow on the western coast, right? And this is what this third statement is saying: western coast of continents witness upwelling of water. So this is a correct, and this also explains statement 1, right? So that means A is the correct answer. Both statement 2 and 3 are correct, and both of them explain statement 1, right? Now let us see the next question, that is question 46, with reference to the natural vegetation of India. So this is a question from the topic natural vegetation of India. This is also an important topic from prelims exam point of view. On and off, one question is asked from this topic every year, right? So if you see the trend of previous year question from this topic, UPSC puts emphasis on types of forest, their area of prevalence, and prominent trees in each type of forest, right? So that's why a question based on tree and its type has been put in your test, right? So let's read the trees that are given here. First one is chinar, right? So first of all, you should know that chinar was in news because Jammu and Kashmir government has launched an initiative called Tree Aadhaar for preservation of chinar tree, right? So chinar, now the type given here is tropical evergreen. This is not correct. Chinar is basically a deciduous type of tree. I think most of you must have seen the images of chinar, right, which shows the red crimson colored leaves of chinar falling down, right? In case you have not seen, this is the chinar tree, and its leaves are basically crimson red or golden colored, and you can see that its leaves are fallen on the ground, right? So that means chinar trees have to shed their leaves, right? So they cannot be evergreen, right? They have to be deciduous only, right? Second one, sandalwood. Sandalwood is tropical deciduous forest. This is correct. Tropical deciduous forests are found in the area having rainfall 100 to 200 centimeter, right? And some of the prominent trees that are found in tropical deciduous forest are sal, sesame, teak, right? Sandalwood is there. Then there are some other trees that are found in this tropical deciduous forest like amla. Amla is also a tropical deciduous type of tree. Then mahua, etc., right? So you should know some of the prominent trees that are found in each type of forest. So this one is correctly matched. Now the third one given here is neem, right? And this is the type given is tropical semi evergreen. This is not correct. Neem is a very well known tropical thorn forest, thorn type of tree, right? So these tropical thorn forests are found in the area having rainfall less than 50 centimeter, and some of the prominent trees that are found in tropical thorn type of forest are palas, babool, then neem is there, then you can say dead palm, etc. These are some prominent trees that are found in tropical thorn forest. So third is also not correctly matched, first is not correctly matched, only second is correctly matched. So correct answer here is A, only one pair, right? Now let's move on to our next question, that is question 47. It says consider the following information. In one column river island is given, state, associated river, right? So this will lie in the topic drainage system of India. Drainage system of India, right? This is a very important topic from prelims exam point of view. You can expect 1 to 2 questions from this topic almost every year, right? And if you analyze the trend of previous year question, UPSC focuses upon 2-3 things in this topic: major rivers and its tributaries, and any geographical features that are associated with those rivers. So that's why a question based on river island has been put in your test, right? Let's see them one by one. First is Hope Island, right? It is located in Andhra Pradesh. This is correct, and it has been created by river Godavari, right? So if you see it on map, let's say this is the map of peninsular India. So Kakinada coast, that is located in Andhra Pradesh, is located somewhere here, and this Hope Island is located slightly off the coast of Kakinada, right? It lies in the region of Bay of Bengal. So because of its presence off the coast, it is not exactly a river island, but it has been created by the sediments brought by Godavari river. Godavari river, this is correct, and it lies in Andhra Pradesh, right? So that means first row is correctly matched. Now let's see the second one, that is Umananda Island. It is located in Assam. This is correct, and it is created by Subansiri. This is not correct. This has been created by Brahmaputra river. Brahmaputra river, not Subansiri river, right? And there is one unique fact about this Umananda Island, that is it is world's smallest inhabited river island, right? Umananda Island is world's smallest inhabited river island, right? And related to Umananda and Assam, there is one more island that is very famous, that is Majuli Island. Majuli Island. This is also located in Assam, and this is famous because this is world's largest river island, right? And this island has been formed by Brahmaputra on one side and Subansiri on other side, right? So this island has been formed by two rivers. Umananda has been formed by Brahmaputra alone, right? So that means second is not correctly matched. Third one given here is Srirangapatna Island, right? State given is Tamil Nadu. This is not correct. Srirangapatna Island is located in Karnataka. Karnataka. It is a very famous island town in Karnataka, and it has been created by Kaveri river. This is correct. So that means third row is also not correctly matched. So the correct answer here will be only 1, right? So the learning that you should draw from this question is that along with studying the major rivers, you have to also study some important geographical features that have been created by those rivers, right? So now let's move on to the next question, that is question 48. It says below is a map of the world with 4 areas labeled 1, 2, 3 and 4, right? So a map is given and on this map 4 areas are given 1, 2, 3 and 4. Which of the above areas is most likely to witness 3 clearly distinguishable seasons with a concentration of heavy rainfall in summer, right? So first of all, this is a question from the topic climatology. Climatology. This is a very important topic from prelims exam point of view, right? You can expect 1 to 2 questions from this topic every year. And if you analyze the trend of previous year question that has been asked from this topic, one area has been consistent, that is biome, right? One question is generally asked from this topic, biome, right? So that's why this question based on the concept of biome has been put in your test. Now the question is saying which of the above areas is most likely to witness 3 clearly distinguishable seasons with a concentration of heavy rainfall in summer, right? So these two characteristics, if you see, these two are typical characteristic of tropical monsoon season, tropical monsoon climate, right? Among all the climatic regions present in the world, only tropical monsoon climate has 3 clearly distinguishable seasons and concentration of heavy rainfall in summer, right? No other climatic region in the world has 3 clearly distinguishable seasons, right? So just by reading the question, you should have gotten the idea that this is about tropical monsoonal climate biome, right? So as it is clear from the name itself, tropical monsoon climate has to be lying in the tropical region, right? It has to lie in the tropical region, right? And in the given map, if you see, these two areas will lie on equator. Equator will be lying somewhere here, right? So that means area 2 and area 3 will be lying on equator. So in that case, these two areas will be having equatorial climate, equatorial climate, right? And equatorial climate is known for having uniform temperature throughout the year as well as uniform rainfall throughout the year. So they cannot have 3 clearly distinguishable seasons, right? So that means 2 and 3 are wrong, they cannot be the answer, right? Now if you see, the tropic will lie somewhere here. So tropic will lie something like this. This will be Tropic of Cancer and this will be Tropic of Capricorn, right? And if you see, this area 1 is lying much beyond tropic, right? So this cannot be in tropical monsoon climatic zone, right? In fact, if you see the map, this area 1 will have basically British type climate, British type climate, not tropical monsoon climate. So there is only one area left, area 1 is also not correct. There is only one area left, that is 4, that is lying in tropical region, that will have tropical monsoon climate, right? So the correct answer here is D, area 4. Now let us move on to our next question, that is question 86. It says it is an island, the coastline of which is roughly equal to Earth's circumference at equator. To its west lie Baffin Bay and Davis Strait, and to its northwest a narrow body of water separates the island from a Canadian territory, right? Which island is being described in the above passage, right? So it is a very easy question actually. Its correct answer is B, Greenland, right? This Greenland has been in news because Mr. Trump, the current US president, Mr. Trump has been pitching to acquire Greenland and incorporate it in the US territory, and that's why this Greenland has been in news in the recent past, right? So you can expect a question based on the geography of Greenland, right? So that's why this question has been put in your test, right? Now let's see the geography of Greenland in detail and we will come back to our question. This is Greenland, right? And currently it is administered by Denmark, that means it's a territory of Denmark, right? And if you see towards the west of Greenland, here this water body is known as Baffin Bay, right? And this one is known as Davis Strait, right? So Baffin Bay and Davis Strait are located towards the west of Greenland, right? And if you see in the north or northwestern side, this island is basically a Canadian territory. This whole area is Canadian territory, and this particular island is known as Ellesmere Island. Ellesmere Island, right? And this is separated from Greenland only by a narrow passage of water, right? So this is what the question is saying. It is an island, the coastline of which is roughly equal. This is one interesting fact about Greenland actually. Greenland is the largest island of the world. Largest island, right? And the length of its coastline is equal to the circumference of Earth at the equator, right? So this particular fact has been used in the question, but even if you didn't know this fact, you could have used this knowledge. To its west lie Baffin Bay and Davis Strait. So these two water bodies are famous. Labrador Current passes through these two water bodies only, right? So to its west lie Baffin Bay and Davis Strait, and to its northwest a narrow body of water separates the island from a Canadian territory, right? So the correct answer here is Greenland. Now let's move on to the next question, that is question 88. It says, consider the following statements. The list of rare earth elements is universal across the world, right? So first of all, this is a question from the topic distribution of resources. Distribution of resources. This is a very important topic from prelims exam point of view. 1 to 2 questions are asked from this topic almost every year, and if you analyze the trend of previous year questions that have been asked from this topic, UPSC has been focusing on critical minerals and related concept in the recent past. So that's why this question based on the knowledge of critical minerals has been put in your test. So the first statement says the list of rare earth elements is universal across the world. This is correct. So there are two concepts. First is critical mineral and second is rare earth elements. These two are often used together. If you read any article or news related to critical mineral, you are likely to see rare earth element as well, right, in those articles, but they are not exactly the same thing, right? Rare earth elements are basically a group of 17 metallic element, right? A group of 17 metallic element is called rare earth element, right? So out of these 17 metallic elements, 15 are lanthanides. That is, if you see the periodic table, there are two rows on the bottom. The first row is called lanthanide, right? So out of 17 rare earth elements, the 15 are lanthanides only, and there are two more. First is yttrium and one more is scandium. So this group of 17 elements have been categorized as rare earth elements, right? And this is accepted universally. Second statement says the list of critical minerals varies from one region to another. This is correct, right? So while the list of rare earth elements is accepted universally across the world, the list of critical minerals is not fixed, right? So how a critical mineral is decided? So let's say there is a country, right? It assesses its strategic importance. So let's say with respect to India, so India will assess strategic importance of a mineral and also the availability of that mineral in the country. So based on these two parameters, any country categorizes any mineral as critical mineral, right? So that means the list of critical mineral will depend upon country. It will vary from one country to another, right? So any mineral can be a critical mineral for India but not for US, right? That means the list of critical minerals varies from one region to another. This is also correct. So which of the statements given above are correct? So both 1 and 2 are correct here. C is the correct answer. Now let's move on to the next question, that is question 90. Which of the following are likely consequence if the earth stops rotating on its axis but continues to revolve around the sun, right? So as we all know that, let's say this is sun, this is our earth. So as we all know, our earth rotates on its axis, right, counterclockwise, that is from west to east, and also it revolves around the sun, right? So the question is saying, suppose a condition occurs where earth stops rotating, that means this rotation is stopped but the earth continues to revolve around the sun, this revolution is on, right? So what will be the consequence of such a condition? Let's read them one by one. First is sudden change in wind direction. This is correct. How? You all must have heard about Coriolis effect. Coriolis effect. What is Coriolis effect? Coriolis effect basically deflects any moving fluid towards right in the southern hemisphere and towards left in the towards right in the northern hemisphere and towards left in the southern hemisphere, right? Coriolis effect is called same. So this Coriolis effect is actually occurs because of rotation of earth. It is the rotation of earth only that causes Coriolis effect, right? If the rotation of earth is stopped, this Coriolis effect will be gone, right? So that means this deflection towards right and left will be gone, right? So that means the winds will change direction because there is no deflection now. So all of a sudden there will be change in wind direction, right? So first is correct. Now the second one, massive floods in polar regions. This is also correct. Let's see how. So let's say this is our earth, right? And if earth was not rotating, let's say this is the distribution of water across the earth. So it would have been distributed equally across the earth's surface. But in reality, earth is rotating, right? So because of this rotation, there is an outward centrifugal force. Centrifugal force, right? So because this centrifugal force is maximum at the equator and lowest at the pole, right? The amount of centrifugal force actually depends on the distance from the axis of rotation. So it is maximum at the equator and lowest at the pole, because at the pole lies on the axis itself, right? So what happens that because of high centrifugal force on equator, this water near equator gets a bulge, basically it rises upwards, right? And in order to compensate for this bulge, water at other surfaces, particularly near the pole, goes downwards. So the actual distribution of water along Earth's surface is something like this. There are two bulges on the equator and on the pole, water height is relatively lower, right? Now, if the Earth's rotation is stopped, right, this centrifugal force will be gone, right? So that means this bulge will go down. So the water near equator will come to this height, it will go down. So the excess water near the equator will be pushed towards equator. So towards the pole, right? Excess water from the equator will be pushed towards the pole. So at pole, what will happen? The water will rise in the height, right? So polar regions will actually get excess water that is contained there right now. So those excess water will actually result in massive floods in polar regions, right? This is what it is saying. So this is correct. Now extreme temperature, third one is saying extreme temperature. This is also correct. Let's see how. So currently what happens that because of earth rotation, any point or any face on the earth gets to face the sun. So let's say this is one side of the earth, so it gets to face the sun and then also moves away from the sun in the same day, right? In a single day, earth is completing one rotation, right? So one side, any one side on the earth is getting to face the sun and also moving away from the sun, right? But if this rotation is stopped, what will happen? That the face that is facing the sun, the side of earth that is facing the sun, will stay facing the sun for a long time, because now this is not rotating, this rotation is gone, right? It will keep facing the sun until, because of revolution, this face actually goes away from the sun. So let's say earth revolves and reaches up to here, such that this face, this side of the earth that is facing the sun, actually goes this side. So now this is no longer facing. So this will keep facing the sun for a long period of time. On the other hand, the second side of earth, that is this one, that is away from the sun, will actually staying away from the sun for a long period of time, right? So that means one side of the earth will be getting heated, its temperature will keep on increasing, and the other side will be getting cooled and its temperature will be continuously decreasing. So because of this thing, there will be extreme temperature on the two sides of earth. So that's why third is also correct. So the correct answer here is D, 1, 2 and 3, right? Now let's move on to the next question, that is question 91. Consider the following information: name of lake, region and feeds to, right? So name of some lakes are given and the region they lie in given is are given, and the rivers that these lakes are feeding are also given, right? So we have to see which of them are correctly matched, right? So let's read them one by one. First one is Pangong Tsaw, right? So Pangong Tsaw was in news recently because Indian Army has recently unveiled a statue of Chhatrapati Shivaji near Pangong Tsaw, right? So that's how this lake becomes important, and that's why a question based on these lakes have been put in your test, right? In fact, all these three lakes were in news recently. So Pangong Tsaw lies on India-China border, India-China. 60% of the lake lies in China and 40% of the lake lies in India, Indian Ladakh region, right? So the region given here, Asia, is correct, right? Feeds to Syok River, this is not correct, right? This Pangong Tsaw lake is not a part of Indus River basin, right? It earlier used to feed Syok River, but because of natural damming, a barrier got created between this lake and Syok River, and now it no longer feeds to Syok River. So this is not correct. That means first is not correctly matched. The second lake given here is Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria was also in the news because this lake is turning green, right? And a study was conducted to actually find out the reason for its turning green, and the study found that it is turning green because of increased presence of cyanobacteria, right? Increased presence of cyanobacteria is what is making the Lake Victoria turn green. And the same study also pointed out that the same thing can happen to Lake Erie if the global warming continues. So that's why these two lakes have been in news, right? This Lake Victoria is located in Africa. This is correct. In fact, it is the largest lake of Africa. Lake Victoria is the largest lake of Africa, right? And this Lake Victoria feeds to White Nile River. This is also correct. This White Nile River is one of the principal stream of Nile River. This Nile River is located in Africa and it is the longest river of the world, you must be knowing. And this Nile River is made up of three principal streams. First is White Nile, second is Blue Nile, and third is Atbara, right? So this White Nile is basically a principal stream of Nile River, and it is fed by Lake Victoria. So second is correctly matched. The third one, Lake Erie. Lake Erie is located on US-Canada border, right? And in fact, it is one of the 5 Great Lakes of America. Great Lakes of America. Great Lakes of America is basically a group of 5 lakes that lie across US and Canada, and Lake Erie is one of the 5 lakes, right? So Lake Erie is located in North America, this is correct, and it feeds to Niagara River, right? Niagara River is very famous because of Niagara Falls, right? And this river is fed by Lake Erie, this is correct. So that means the correct answer here is only 2. First is not correctly matched, rest 2 are correctly matched. Now let's move on to the next question, that is question 92. It says consider the following minerals: barytes, feldspar, mica, quartz. How many of the above are officially designated as major minerals in India, right? So the correct answer here is all 4, right? All of them have been in fact recently categorized as major minerals. Major minerals, right? They all actually used to be minor minerals till now, and Ministry of Mines has recently only categorized them as major minerals, right? So this is a news based question. You must be knowing all the minerals that have been in news, right? And the reason for their categorization is as major minerals is basically linked to critical minerals. Critical minerals, right? So what happens that these minerals are found in a rock which is called pegmatite rock. Pegmatite rocks, right? And these rocks also contain some critical minerals. Critical minerals. But since these minerals were categorized as minor minerals till now, so the lease holders or the owners of these mines were actually not focusing on exploration of these associated critical minerals, right? So that means these associated critical minerals were getting wasted, right? And that's the reason central government categorized them as major minerals, right? So they have been shifted from the category of minor mineral to major mineral. Now the critical minerals that are associated with these rocks or these mines will be explored with a special focus, right? So now let's move on to the next question, that is question 93. It says in the context of physiography of India. So physiography again is a very important topic in Indian geography. 1 to 2 questions are asked from this topic almost every year, right? So let's read the given statement. Consider the following statement. Raj Mahal Hills are an extension of Central Highland. So name of some hills and plateaus are given, right? And if you analyze the trend of previous year question from this topic physiography, UPSC focuses especially on hills and plateaus, right? Major hills and plateaus of India, and that's why this question based on the knowledge of hills and plateaus have been put in your test, right? So the first statement says Raj Mahal Hills are an extension of Central Highland. This is a correct statement. Let's see them on map in order to understand it better. So this peninsular plateau can be broadly divided into 3 parts. The first is something like this. This is called Central Highlands. Central Highlands. The second part is called Deccan Plateau. Deccan plateau, and the third part is called northeastern plateau. Northeastern plateau, right? So these three are the constituent of peninsular plateau, and this central highland, if you see, is bounded on the west side by Aravalli Hills. This is Aravalli Hills. On the south, they are bounded by Satpura mountain. This is Satpura mountain, right? And on the eastern side, they are bounded by Raj Mahal Hills. Raj Mahal Hills. And these Raj Mahal Hills are in fact considered an extension of Central Highland, right? So this is a basic fact that is mentioned in your NCERT book. So that means this statement is correct. Raj Mahal Hills are an extension of Central Highland. This is correct statement. Second statement says Karbi Anglong Hills are an extension of Meghalaya Plateau. This is also a correct statement. So this northeastern plateau, if you see, is made up of two constituents. The first is called Meghalaya Plateau. Meghalaya Plateau, and an extension of Meghalaya Plateau is Karbi Anglong Plateau. Karbi Anglong Plateau is located in Assam. Karbi Anglong Hills is a part of Karbi Anglong Plateau itself. So this Karbi Anglong Hills and plateaus are considered an extension of Meghalaya Plateau itself, and these two together constitute the northeastern plateau, right? So that means the second statement is also correct. Karbi Anglong Hills are an extension of Meghalaya Plateau. The third statement given here is Gavilgarh Hills are an extension of Hazaribagh Plateau. This is not correct. If you see, Gavilgarh Hills are located somewhere here, right? They are spread over Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. This is Gavilgarh Hills. And Hazaribagh Plateau, if you see, is located here, Hazaribagh Plateau. This is located completely in Jharkhand, and it forms a part of Chota Nagpur Plateau, right? So these Gavilgarh Hills cannot be an extension of Hazaribagh Plateau. They are actually located very far from each other, right? So even if you had an idea about the locations of these hills and plateaus, you could have easily approached this question, right? So though they appear very tough at the outset, they are actually not. You only need to have an idea about the placement of major hills and plateaus, and you will be able to approach these questions very easily, right? So that means first two statements are correct while third is not correct. So the correct answer here is A, 1 and 2 only, right? Now let's move on to the next question, that is question 94. It says consider the following statements regarding Antarctic circumpolar current seen in the news recently, right? So Antarctic circumpolar current were in news because a study found that these are slowing down because the melting of Antarctic ice, right? So unchecked melting of Antarctic ice is making this Antarctic circumpolar current slow down, and that's why they were in news, right? Now some statements are given regarding these currents. The first one says it represents the world's largest ocean current system. This is correct, right? So let's first see what exactly is Antarctic circumpolar current, and then we will come back to our question. So this is the Antarctica region, right? And the Antarctic circumpolar current is a current that flows encircling the Antarctica. This is what is Antarctic circumpolar current, right? And this particular current is the world's biggest ocean current system, right? So that means first statement is correct. Second statement, it connects all three main basins of the global ocean. This is also correct. right? So as you can see, it encircles across Antarctica. So it goes through Atlantic Ocean, right, Indian Ocean as well as Pacific Ocean. So that means it connects all three main ocean basins of the world, right? And that's why it actually integrates the major climate signals across the world, because it is connecting all the three major global basins, right? The third statement says it has been bringing some invasive alien species into the Antarctic region. This is not correct. In fact, it is exactly opposite. This Antarctic circumpolar current actually forms a natural boundary across Antarctica, right? And this natural boundary prevents any invasive alien species from entering into Antarctica region, right? But because these currents are slowing down, scientists are apprehending that because of slowing down of this current, invasive alien species will now be able to enter into Antarctica, right? So this current as such does not bring invasive alien species. This in fact prevents them from entering into Antarctica. So the third statement is not correct. First two is correct. The correct answer here is A, 1 and 2 only, right? Now let's see the next question, that is question 95. Consider the following statements regarding tropical cyclones, right? So this is a question from the topic climatology, right? So as we have discussed just now, climatology is a very important topic from exam point of view, right? On an average 1 to 2 questions are asked from this topic, right? And tropical cyclone is an important area within this topic from where questions are often asked, right? So let's read the first statement. Statement says faster change in wind speed with height facilitates the development of tropical cyclones, right? This is not correct. In fact, change in wind speed with height is what is known as vertical wind shear, right? Change in wind speed with height is known as vertical wind shear, right? And an important condition for development of tropical cyclone is that this vertical wind shear has to be low. If it is high, it will prevent development of tropical cyclone, right? So let's first understand this and then we will come back to our question, right? So let's say this is ocean surface, right, where tropical cyclone has started to develop, right? So in the initial phase of development of tropical cyclone, what happens that air starts moving in a circular fashion, something like this, right? And this circular air, because of circular movement of air, it starts to rise, something like this, right? So along with its circular movement, convection also happens along the height, right? And once the air reaches up to certain height, the water vapor starts to condense, right? So at a particular height, the temperature becomes low enough to cause condensation of water vapor, right? And this condensation of water vapor releases heat, right? Because water vapor is getting condensed, so it has to release heat. This heat is basically entrapped in this region, the core region, right? And this is the heat which actually provides energy for development of cyclone. So because of this heat only, further convection occurs, right? And this process keeps on going and this adds to the development of cyclone, right? So it is the heat that is released from condensation of water vapor that facilitates the development of cyclone. Now let's say if there is vertical wind shear, high vertical wind shear, that means there is high movement of wind along height, right? So if there is very high vertical wind movement, right? That means vertical wind is moving with a very high speed. What it will do? It will basically take away the heat that is being released from the condensation, right? So along with the vertical moving wind, this heat will be gone, and it will also take away the moisture, right? So it will take away the heat as well as moisture, right? So that means the development of cyclone will be get hampered, right? So the first statement says faster change in wind speed with height facilitates not. This is not correct. It will in fact hamper the development of tropical cyclone, right? Second statement, energy from the condensation process in the towering cumulonimbus clouds helps intensify the tropical cyclone. This is correct. We have seen just now that energy that is coming from condensation process, that means the energy that is coming from the formation of cloud, is basically what is providing energy for the process of development of cyclone, right? So this is what the second statement is saying, energy from condensation process helps intensify the tropical cyclone. This is correct. So that means the correct answer here is D. First statement is not correct, but statement 2 is correct, right? So with this we have come to the end of our discussion. I hope you find this discussion useful and it helps in your preparation. I wish you all the very best for your upcoming examination. Thank you very much.
Hello students, welcome to a discussion of history question of ANUBHAV-III. I hope you had a great time giving this test, attempting these tests, and you were able to test your knowledge against the litany of questions that we had prepared for you. Okay, so let's first get through the process of the discussion. How will we be going about it? Okay, first I'll will discuss the question. I'll let you know the answer, which one is the correct answer. Okay, and then I'll let you know the important concepts, other concepts that you might be needing to cover a particular topic. Okay, and then we'll also see the other options. Okay, if we can know something more from other options. Okay, so that's how we will go about it. So starting from the first question, consider the following archaeological sites marked on the map and their description. Okay, site 1, it is an ancient trading port. This one is an ancient trading port. Okay, so in the Kerala coast, okay, the most likely solution, most likely answer to this will be Moses. Okay, Moses as it is called. Next, it is a Neolithic site. Okay, Neolithic site here. Okay, there are two important ones in Kashmir, Buzahom and Gufkaral. Okay, because it's a very small map, it could have been either. Okay, so here we have Buzahom option as well. Okay, here and then it is inscription of a Saka ruler. Okay, so for the Saka ruler, we know there's Girnar inscription or Junagadh inscription. Okay, like Girnar also is an option here, but because the other two are matching and these two are not matching here, so we'll go with Junagadh inscription. Okay, so in this topic, the objective, the logic behind this question is that you must know the important, not just the name of the sites, but also their locations. Okay, and same with the trading ports. Okay, and the important inscriptions, like a question on inscription we had discussed in the last Anubhav test as well. Okay, you can go through that discussion to have a look at the other inscriptions. Okay, so we see you have to cover these through maps. Okay, like there's a map of important sites, archaeological sites. Okay, this is a mixed map. It has Paleolithic, Neolithic, Megalithic, all kinds of sites. But what preferably you should be doing is that you get a blank map, outline map, and then pull out from the internet the important Neolithic sites, Paleolithic sites, okay, Mesolithic sites, okay, and map them. This will give you an idea of the spread of the civilization of that time. Okay, same with ports. Okay, like in this map I pulled up. Okay, this is Moses as the question asked. Okay, here you have the Sopara, here you have Lothal. Okay, it's an IVC port. Okay, Next, in Tamaulipas, we had in Bengal we had the Tamaulipas port. Okay, and next Odisha and Machilipatnam is in Andhra Pradesh, and Korkai, Mursis and Korkai are quite popular. So Korkai is on the eastern coast, Mursis is on the western coast. Okay, so this is how you cover this particular topic. What you have to do is get an outline map and plot these points to have a better clarity. We jump to the next question. Talks about, in the context of Quit India movement, consider the following statements. Okay, so it is Quit India movement. We know the timeline is 1942. So we'll consider the statements. It was launched in response to Cripps' proposal. Yes, this statement is correct. Cripps' mission was brought in specifically for that. Okay, so the idea was that it was a time of World War II. Okay, and British needed active Indian support. Okay, so they sent a mission, the Cripps mission, with a proposal of some constitutional changes, constitutional improvements that would have been given to Indians. Okay, some constitutional development would be a better word to say. Okay, but it was deemed too less. Okay, so Quit India movement was launched. Next, Ram Manohar Lohia and Jayaprakash Narayan were active in underground activities during the movement. Yes, this statement is also correct. Ram Manohar Lohia was associated with the secret Congress radio. Secret radio. Okay, the other person for that, famous for this, was Usha Mehta. Okay, so these two people were popular, famous for running secret radio during that time. So what happened was that as Quit India movement was launched, the British arrested all the senior leadership of Congress. So it became a kind of a leadership movement, leaderless movement. Okay, so it was very difficult to coordinate between activities because it's a national movement. Something needed to be done all across the nation, and there need to be some coordination. Okay, so to to coordinate between the various Congress organizations, Pradesh or provincial Congress committees, this secret radio was used, even though it was in service for like 3-4 months. Okay, it served a big purpose. It was very important in letting other Congress workers know that what is happening on the other side of the country. Okay, next we have Jatiya Sarkar, an independent parallel government, was established in Satara. Okay, this statement is not correct because during the Quit India movement, the parallel governments, okay, were established in two places. One was Tamluk in Bengal and Satara in Maharashtra Pradesh. In Maharashtra, okay, Jatiya Sarkar was established in Tamluk, and Prati Sarkar. Prati Sarkar was established in Satara. Okay, so as 1 and 2 are correct, 3 is not correct. B is the correct answer. So in this question, what you need to cover are the important incidents that happened during Quit India movement and CDM, because we have 3 mass movements. Okay, say NCM, CDM, and Quit India movement. Okay, so you need to get a hang of important activities and leaders who participated in NCM, CDM, and Quit India movement. There have been a lot of questions from this particular topics. Okay, so you need to get a clarity on what happened and how it happened. Achha, we missed this JP Narayan part. Okay, JP Narayan, or colloquially called JP. Okay, we know because he was also very popular after independence. In post-independence India, the emergency was brought because of him. Okay, he was the primary driving force. Okay, he was famous for escaping jail. Like after Quit India movement, he was arrested and put in Hazaribagh jail. In Hazaribagh jail, and when Quit India movement was launched, okay, he escaped the jail to join the movement. Okay, and he also led a guerrilla force. Okay, guerrilla force, and fought against the British. Okay, so this answer to this particular question is B. Next, with reference to officers under the Gupta administration, consider the following pairs. Okay, Nagar Shreshti, head of city merchants. Yes, We talk about Gupta administration. So we know at that time the guilds, okay, guilds also called Shrenis. Okay, this was the like CII and SOCAM of that time. Okay, it was a guild of businessmen. Okay, and then these businessmen divided themselves in other separate smaller guilds. Like there will be a guild of uh, goldsmiths. Okay, there will be a guild of traders. Okay, cloth traders. Okay, there will be a group of blacksmiths. Okay, so these smiths, what they did, they organized their trade very well. Okay, and controlled it. Okay, they took charge of training their interns. Okay, and keeping, and when the merchants traded, okay, they ensured that they moved in bigger numbers to provide security to everyone. Okay, so those were guilds. Okay, Nagar Shreshti, city merchants. Sathava was leader of merchant caravans. As I said, when they moved, okay, there used to be a big caravan, and this he was the leader there. Okay, Pratham Kulika, head of artisans. Like I said, there are a number of guilds. So we see there are other important officers in the Gupta period as well, like Amatyas, and Kumar Amatyas. Kumar Amatyas. Okay, Kumar Amatyas were like ministers, and if you don't want to see it as some ministers, you can also see them as secretaries. Secretary level, the highest level of positions. Okay, who are in charge of particular thing. Okay, so they were Amatyas, and their juniors were Kumar Amatyas. So these were a few positions in the Gupta administration. Okay. So the logic of this question is that there are two administrative systems very popular in the ancient India. One was Mauryan and one was Gupta. Okay. Mauryan was even more expansive and detailed. Okay, the idea for that comes from Kautilya's Arthashastra. Okay, so you need to have a hang on that. Okay, you get the important ministers on in positions from that. Okay, and then from the Gupta administration, there have been a few questions, they might reappear. Okay, so we need to get an idea about that. So we all of these three statements are correct and correctly matched. Answer is D. So next question is, which of the following Sanskrit dramatists authored Uttara Ramcharita, okay, and served as a court poet under King Yashovarman of Kannauj? Okay, this second nugget of information was not even needed. From this popular book, you can reach the answer Bhavabhuti. Okay, talking about the book, the Uttar Ramayan is a story of after the battle of Ayodhya, after the battle in Ramayan, after defeat of Ravana, when Ramji comes back to Ayodhya. Okay, there was the episode of him banishing Sita, and then their reconciliation. That's the story of this particular book. Okay, and then we have other options. We see options as well. Okay, Kalidasa needs little introduction. Okay, he was the most famous poet of the Gupta period. Okay, his most famous work was Meghduta. Okay, and many other plays. Okay, in Bhasha, he is not very well known, but he has written a number of plays. Okay, which were lost in time, and it was discovered later. Okay, he predates even Kalidasa. Okay, and then Vishak Dutt, he is popular for writing two plays. Okay, Mudra Rakshasa and Devi Chandraguptam. Okay, Mudra Rakshasa talks about Chandragupta I. Okay, how with the help of Chanakya he got better of the Nandas and defeated them and established an empire. Second book, Devi Chandraguptam, is a story of Chandragupta II. Okay, this is a story of how Chandragupta II got his empire back from his brother Ramgupt. Okay, so we see this question is also important because it highlights the important books and authors. Okay, you need to have a compilation of them. because there have been a lot of questions, okay, and we provide some content regarding that, okay. You can just Google a list of important authors and books, and you will get a number of lists, okay. You just need to make one for your own, okay. Next, with reference to INA trials, okay, consider the following statements. The trials were presided over by British military court. Yes, it was court martial, okay, and it was curious that British decided to conduct a very public trial at Red Fort, okay. INA trials were held at Red Fort, okay. The idea was that the British wanted people to show that yes, we are still rulers of the country, and if you revolt against us, if you fight against us, we will punish you. But it exact opposite happened, okay. It fueled rage against the British, okay, and then the anti-national, anti-British sentiment even got flamed up, okay, because of this very public trial, okay. So it kind of worked against what British thought. Next, Jawaharlal Nehru was part of the defense team of NIA officers. Yes, he was part of the team. When it was announced that INA trials would happen at Red Fort, the Congress committee took charge of the defense, okay. He was part of a big team, okay. The team was led by Bhula Bhai Desai, okay. Bhula Bhai Desai, okay. It also had eminent lawyers like Tej Bahadur Sapru, Asaf Ali, and Kailash Nath Kadju. Okay, Kailash Nath Kadju was the grandfather of Supreme Court Judge Markandeya Kadju. Okay, though he came from a very esteemed family. Okay, so second statement is right. In response to the nationwide unrest following the NIA trials, the British government proposed Wavell plan to pacify Indian sentiments. This statement is not correct. Okay, it predates that. Okay, it was in the works even before this flamed up. Okay, so third statement is not correct. 1 and 2 are correct. Okay, an important thing was that you should know the names of 3 people who were put on trial. Okay, one was Gurbaksh Singh Dhillon. Okay, Prem Sehgal and Shahnawaz Khan. Okay, you must know the names of these 3 leaders, these 3 important military officers. Okay, what happened was that these people were serving with the British when British fled from Rangoon. Okay, when they pulled their armies back, they left these people behind. They were caught by the Japanese and the opposing forces, and later they became prisoners of war and then joined INA. Okay, so that is how they came on the other side of the British fighting forces. Okay. Next, we have Dhamek Stupa, which is site in Sarnath. Yes, it is in Sarnath. Lord Buddha gave his first sermon. Yes, after Buddha's enlightenment in Bodh Gaya. Okay, he travelled to Sarnath and gave his first sermon there. So first statement is correct. 1-3 is correct. Next, Rambha Stupa of Bodh Gaya, site of cremation of Lord Buddha. This statement is not correct because Buddha died in Kushinagar. Okay, he died in Kushinagar and was cremated there. So second pair is not matching. Then Bharhut Stupa, Satna. So this statement is correct. Bharhut Stupa is in Satna district of MP. Birthplace of Buddha. This is not correct because birthplace of Buddha is Lumbini. Okay, so you must understand. So here only one option is correct. Option A, only one pair is right. So there are 4 important phases of his life. Okay, his birth was in Lumbini, and then his enlightenment, which happened at Bodh Gaya. Okay, and then his first sermon, which was at Sarnath. Okay, they say it is called Dharma Chakra Pravartan. Okay, and next his demise was at Kushinagar. Okay, so these 4 places are very important when it comes to timeline of Gautam Buddha. Okay, and since we are on this topic, and Buddhism and Jainism go hand in hand. So as you are reading about the life of Buddha, you also read about the life of Mahavira. Okay, you must also know where Lord Mahavir was born and where he died. Okay. Next, according to the ancient astronomy, the prime meridian was once considered to be passing through which of the following Kumbh Mela sites? Okay, it's good that all of these sites options are Kumbh Mela sites. Okay, the answer to this question is Ujjain. Okay, so how do we know it? It was written in a book. It's a compilation of astronomical theories and ideas. Surya Siddhanta. Surya Siddhanta. Okay, so it said that the prime meridian, okay, or also called in that particular book Madhya Rekha, is passes through Ujjain or Avanti. Ujjain is written as Avanti there. Okay, so coming to the idea of prime meridian. Okay, what happens is that this is Earth. These are the longitudinal lines. Okay, so what happened was that earlier the time zones were found out, were decided by the time every place has saw noon. Okay, every place when it saw noon, the time was 12 a.m. there. So that was the standard time. But when people started traveling long distances, okay, especially when the advent of after the advent of railways in say 1870s, 60s, 1860s to 70s, when the railways started, people wanted to know how much time will it take to get there to a particular place, and when we get there, what time will be there. Okay, so the idea of a standard time needed. Okay, so in the Paris conference, okay, in the in a conference was called, and Greenwich was selected. Okay, Greenwich was selected because it had Greenwich Royal Observatory. Okay, it was no special place. It did not have a very important geographic location, any significant geographic location or function, but because it had a royal observatory there, okay, we said like, okay, we can set the mean base here and then count eastwards or westwards from there to have a reference point. Okay, so same with Ujjain. Ujjain was selected not because it had some important geographic location or some significance, but because a lot of astronomical study was happening in Ujjain. Okay, so the same logic worked with Ujjain. Okay, and one more important thing, when we talk about Surya Siddhanta, the North Pole is also mentioned. Mount Meru. Okay, Mount Meru was considered the North Pole according to this idea, Surya Siddhanta principles. Okay, so the answer is B, Ujjain. And as Kumbh Mela concluded recently, okay, you might get a question. Okay, so you should know all the important sites, all the 4 places where Kumbh happens every 3 years. Okay. Next, the Satavahanas issued gold coins predominantly in lead. Yes, this statement is correct. A lot of the Satavahana coins that we have are lead. They also issued copper and a few gold coins. Okay, but lead are very significant because lead became out of fashion later, because not many empires used lead as a currency, but they did. Next, lead was abundantly available in the Deccan region during their rule. Yes, seems quite logical. As lead was easily available, okay, it was used. Okay, another important contribution of Satavahanas when it comes to coins was that they started portrait coins. Portrait coins, as in the face of the monarch, of the ruler on the coin. Okay, because mostly people use some motifs or emblems on the coins. Okay, they started with the portrait coins. And one important development in the Satavahanas time was that we came from punch marked coins, punch marked to die cast. Okay, the difference was that punch mark, a coin was individually punched. Okay, so there was some offset at times. Okay, they were not exactly and perfectly shaped. Okay, but when it came die cast, it was mass manufacturing. Okay, so there was more of unifying. Common coins came in very standard shapes and sizes. Okay, so this changed, and mostly because the monetization took flight. Okay, as monetization increased, people saw the utility of using coins instead of barter. Okay, earlier people were using just barters. As the importance of coin increased, okay, as the volume increased, they saw the need for standardization and moved to better technology, better techniques of coin making, which was die cast. Okay. So Satvanas are very important. You read about it, about their contribution to art and culture. Okay. Next, consider following statement regarding evolution of civil services in British India. Okay, so students preparing for civil services, trying their hand at a question on civil services. Okay, kind of an inception thing going on here. Okay, so we'll see the history. This you will be able to do it if you go through the history of civil services, how it came about. The question has also come: who was the first one to clear civil services? Okay, Satyanarayana Tagore in 1863. Okay, so it has been a important theme. Okay, so we'll see the statements. Montagu confirmed reforms, recommended that Indian civil services examination be conducted simultaneously in India and England. Yes, this statement is correct. It started in the year 1922, though it was not a new demand. Okay, even the moderates, the first moderates of Congress, okay, like Firoz Shah Mehta and Dadabhai Naoroji, they were one the first to start with the demand that it should be conducted in India, because they saw how it was biased against Europeans. Because it used to happen that the age was 21, later it was reduced to even 19, and a 19-year-old would had to from India would had to travel to London to give this exam and read subjects they did not read here, like Latin, okay, and other language and literature papers. Okay, so it was the design was exam was made such a way that it excluded Indians. Okay, but still people started qualifying it. Okay, even Subhash Chandra Bose did. Okay, so next statement: Lee Commission in 2024 recommended the establishment of Public Services Commission commission for recruitment to public service exams in India. Yes. Okay, the name of the commission was Royal Commission for to look into public services in India. Okay, they recommended two things. Okay, one was the proportion of the recruited officers should be 20% should be the ones who are being promoted. Okay, 40% Indians and 40% British. This was the recommendation. Okay, another recommendation of there was to have all India services, okay, and provincial services, central service and provincial services. Okay, so this was their recommendation. These two were their recommendations. Okay, third, Government of India Act 1935 provided for a Federal Public Service Commission and Provincial Public Service Commissions. Yes, this statement is also correct. The UPSC, as we know now, was called Federal Public Service Commission, and the State Services Commission was Provincial Public Service Commission. Like all the provinces had this Provincial Public Service Commission, and India had federal, because it was a federal system. Federal setup was envisioned for India. Okay, the current erstwhile Federal Public Service Commission became UPSC as we know it. So option is D. So the next question: in the context of Bhakti traditions, okay, we come to the question of Bhakti movements. Which of the statements given below are correct? Guru Ravidas influenced both Sikhism and Bhakti tradition. Yes, this statement is correct. He was quite popular in the North and Western Indian circles. Okay, so and because of the overlap, Okay, like the ideas of devotion and equality. Okay, so he was popular in both Sikhism and Bhakti traditions. Okay, Sudas composed devotional poetry on Lord Krishna. Yes, it's quite popular that he has done that. Okay, next, Andal was a female saint poet. Yes, this is correct. Of Kannada Bhakti movement. This one is not correct because Andal was Tamil. Okay, Kannada was Akka Mahadevi. Akka Mahadevi. Okay, so statement 1 and 2 are correct, 3 is not correct. So here what we need to study is the important female bhakti saints all over India. You should make a list of them. Okay, and if there are some compositions, some books some people have written, that you should do. Okay, next, it's question about the land classifications in the Tamil period. Okay, it's also called Tamilkam, means Tamil land. Tamil land. Okay, how do we get the idea of these things? From Tolkappiyam. Tolkappiyam by Tolkappiyar. Okay, he has mentioned these 5 classification. Okay, so here Kurinji is hilly region. Okay, this is correct. Mullai. Mullai is not wetlands, but Mullai is pastoral land. Palai is not pastoral lands. Palai is arid desert, and other 2 classifications, the categories were Marutham, agricultural land or fertile land, and Naithal or coastal land or salty land. Okay, so this was the 5 types of territories, 5 types of land found in Tamilkam or Tamil land. Okay, and we got this idea from Tolkappiyam, written by Tolkappiyar. Okay, it was Sangam literature. Okay, so Sangam literature is also important from our point of view in the art and culture. Okay, so you can also check the other important literary artifacts of Sangam literature. Okay, the important poets, okay, and important creations of that time. Coming to the next question, consider following statement with Chola Empire. Okay, we are looking at the Chola Empire now. The kings used to add Varman suffix as a part of the process of claiming Kshatriya status. Yes, this statement is correct. We have kings like Aditya Varman, and Parantaka Varman. Okay, so these people, these kings took titles on suffix of Varman to indicate their genealogy from Kshatriyas. Okay, justice was carried out by village assemblies through special committees. Yes, we know the Chola kingdom had a very developed system of village assemblies. Okay, we know it because of Uttara Meru inscription. Uttara Meru inscription describes in great detail the village assemblies of Cholas. Okay. Next, military education and training was imparted to Brahmanas through an institution called Kantalur Salai. Okay, this statement is correct, but if we are talking about the Chola Empire, this becomes wrong because it was the feature of Cheras. Okay, their neighbors and competitors, I mean enemies, Cheras. Okay, so third statement is not correct. Statement 1 and 2 are correct. Okay, so in the south we had Chera Pandyas. Okay, you must have an idea of how their governments worked, they functioned. Okay, and if they had friction among each other. Okay, like this Kantalur Salai. Okay, it is mentioned because it was very fabled. It was very popular that it was like the best military school of Cheras. But Cholas, when the Cholas attacked, it fell down. Okay, it fell apart. So we can say Cholas were better at military than this Kantalur Salai. Okay, so Chola Chera Pandya, you should read about those 3 kingdoms. Okay, next question is about from the modern history regarding Sri Aurobindo Ghosh. Okay, he was one of the prominent leaders of extremists. Like when the phase of Congress changed from the baton got passed down to the next generation of leaders. Okay, from moderates it came to extremists. These extremists were prominently Lal Bal Pal, Lal, okay, Lal Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Bipin Chandra Pal, and Aurobindo Ghosh was also a very important leader at that time. Okay, he preached revolutionary concept of nationalism and was one of the prominent protesters of 1905 partition of Bengal. Yes, as he was from Bengal, when the partition of Bengal was announced, he vehemently opposed it through political means. Okay, he was arrested in connection with Alipur bomb conspiracy case. Yes, this is also correct. Okay, it is also called Manik Tala or Thakur Pukur conspiracy case, because these are just the names of the areas. Okay, the area he lived was Manik Tala and the locality was Thakur Pukur. Okay, so it's also called that. What happened is that his brother Barin Ghosh, okay, he was arrested, and because he was a very popular leader among the Anushilan Samiti, okay, as explosives were found at their home. Okay, he was also implicated. Okay, so he was also arrested. So there's also an interesting story that what British did, like when they were conducting a trial, they converted one of their aides, okay, into a government approval, like Sarkari Gawah as we call it. Okay, so what happened was that these people killed the Sarkari Gawah, killed the person who was giving evidence against them. Okay, and so the case fell apart and the case got weakened and they were saved from death punishments. Okay, so the assassination and the murder of the witness, okay, broke down the case. Okay, yeah, he was associated with periodicals like and journals like Jugantar and Bande Mataram. Yes, Jugantar was the mouthpiece of Anushilan Samiti, and Bande Mataram, he was the name of a newspaper he edited. It was also edited by Bipin Chandra Pal. Okay, like I said, Lal Bal Pal, the extremist leader. Okay, so he was associated with these two newspapers and journals as well. Okay, after he was acquitted, okay, as a lot of evidence was not accepted by court. Okay, and mainly he was not directly involved. Because he was extremist, but he did not have a lot of faith in the violence. Okay, so he wanted to adopt constitutional means, but because he was getting very popular, he was implicated in this case, and later he was acquitted. And after acquittal, he retired from politics and moved to Pondicherry. Okay, he retired to Pondicherry. Okay. So the option is D, 1, 2, 3. Next, he was famous French traveler of the 17th century who made 6 trips to India. He also visited the diamond mines of Golconda and got full opportunity to examine the Kohinoor. Okay, he succeeded in selling his most precious jewels to the then Mughal emperor. In his travelogue, he focused upon providing the descriptions of the major trade centers of India and tricks and methods used by Indian merchants, moneylenders and sarafs in their commercial activities. Who among the following is referred to? Okay, the answer here is C. Okay, you can reach an answer if you know that there is a famous book, okay, called because James Tavernier had published his travel diaries mentioning that he had come to Asia 6 times. Okay, so as we have to also see the options. Okay, option A and D were both Portuguese travelers. Okay, and the question talks about French. The nearest confusing option might be Francois Bernier because he was also French. Okay, for now, Nunes and Domingo Pace both are famous for visiting the Vijayanagar Empire at their peak. Okay, so even if you know that, you can associate it because Vijayanagar Empire was in 14th century and here it is mentioned 16th century. 17th century. Okay, so you get a lot of clues here. Okay, so these two people, okay, like Fanao Nunes said that Hampi, the capital of Vijayanagar Empire, was the greatest town he ever saw, and Domingo Pace commented that it was as big and populous as Rome at that time. Okay, and Francois Bernier, he was a doctor, French doctor who traveled across India. So, as we are preparing for that, from this question, you get an idea that the European travelers are important. And as we talk about the travelers, okay, I would also suggest you to get a hang on the foreign travelers of India who had come. Okay, like there are a few Chinese travelers who had come. Okay, Megasthenes, Fahian, okay, Itzing, okay, and then these European travelers are there. Okay, so you make a list of them, prepare them. Next, consider the following statement regarding crafts of Indus Valley civilization. We come to IBC question. Evidence of bead making workshops has been found at Chanhudaro and Lothal. Yes, this statement is correct. Okay, a lot of a few factories, bead making factories were found. Okay, metals such as copper, bronze, gold were used. Yes, metals were also used, but precious materials were also used, like jade, like jasper, like carnelian. Okay, these were the precious items of that time, and it was used to make beads. And third statement says, archaeologists often identify craft production sites based on unfinished objects and waste materials. Okay, coming to this statement, like how can you say that a particular activity was happening here? Okay, like if you come to a room and you see stray food particles on the table, okay, you will come to know that yes, there were people eating here. Okay, and if you come to a room and you see parts of broken, say shredded pieces of paper, okay, or parts of broken pottery and all, okay, you will notice that a lot of pottery might have been saved here, or maybe it was being made here. Okay, so factory, we confirmed that it was a bead making factory because a lot of unfinished beads and broken beads were found there. Okay, so C is also correct. So coming to IVC, the questions that have been asked is most importantly, you make a list of all the important sites, okay, and what did you find there? Okay, like what was at Mohenjo-daro, okay, what was at Harappa, what was at Lothal, what was at Chanhudaro. In Chanhudaro, anywhere you see, you'll only find, in Chanhudaro we find bead making factories. Lothal was a prominent and important port at that time. Okay, so just make a list of 8-10 sites. Okay, it is easily searchable. Okay, and you can easily get a question, and even if you don't get a question directly from there, it will help you in eliminating options and getting to the answer. Next, Git Gawai, a tradition included in the UNESCO representative list, okay, is primarily associated with which of the following states? Okay, it is Bihar, though when you go to the UNESCO site, it also mentions Mauritius. Okay, it mentions Mauritius because a lot of indentured laborers or girmitiyas traveled to Mauritius. Like Mauritius has a lot of people from Indian origin. Okay, how did they get there? Was in the form of indentured laborers. Okay, the British wanted to do plantation there. They wanted labor, so they contracted and took people from India. Okay, Girmitiya is a corruption of the word agreement. So what happened was that British would say, come to us for 10 years, 20 years. They will take people from here to Caribbean islands or somewhere in Mauritius, in smaller islands, and there they will be allowed to stay for 10-20 years. After that, if they wish, they could stay back or they could repatriate. So what happened was that a lot of people stayed back. That is the reason you find Indian diaspora in a lot of smaller islands. Okay, so these were indentured laborers, and when people migrate, they also bring their culture with them. Okay, so this Geet Gawai was a part of culture. Like Geet Gawai, what happened is that before weddings, okay, both sides, the bride and the groom's families sit together or maybe separately and have this function of singing songs. Okay, starting with devotional song to some fun songs. Okay, this was just to engage the crowd, engage the people who come for the ceremonies and all. Okay, it is a very important part of culture. So when people moved out of India to their other places, they took it with them. Okay, and recently it has been recognized by UNESCO under the Intangible Culture Heritage Sites. Okay, Intangible Culture Heritage of Humanity. Okay, it's a representative list as of now. It has not been confirmed. Okay, so far we have, though we have like a lot of things under that. Okay, we have the Kumbh Mela, we have yoga. Okay, so the answer will be D, Bihar. Okay, so that will be end of discussion for, yeah, that will be end of discussion for history. Be with us, stay with us for the next subject. Okay, and I wish you all the best for this year's attempt. Thank you.
Hello and warm regards from Next IAS team. Myself Ajay Singh, and I will be taking the economy portion discussion of the ANUBHAV test paper 3 that was conducted on 23rd March 2025. Now, in this discussion, we are going to take a total 16 questions. You can note down the question number so that you don't have any issues while going with the video. First of all, we are going to take questions from 8 to 14, then question number 54 to 59, and lastly 96 to 98. Now, while doing economics, you need to see one thing, that your concepts are thoroughly cleared, because mostly when the questions are asked from economy portion, basically the questions are based upon the concepts or the application of the concepts. Along with that, the current affairs should also be very thorough. For example, questions can be based upon the current affairs or from the budget or from the economic survey. So these things should be very clear while preparing economics and while attempting the questions. And question by question, we are also going to see how you have to apply the concept so that you don't face any difficulties regarding the confusions that you have while solving them. Now let's start the discussion. The first question that we have is about foreign portfolio investment. I hope you are aware about what is foreign portfolio investment and what is foreign direct investment, because foreign portfolio investment simply means that the investment is going to a certain portfolio, and it can be a short-term investment also. Foreign direct investment is a long-term investment and it goes directly in the investment part. So let's see the question here. First thing is sustained rupee depreciation is likely to cause FPI outflow to increase the risk of capital loss for foreign investors. So is this statement right or wrong? Let's see how. Dekho, if for example, the question is saying the sustained rupee depreciation का क्या मतलब है कि मान लो $1 today is coming at ₹50. Rupee depreciation means that the same dollar, the value will be ₹100. So this is rupee depreciation. कि यहाँ पे रुपी डेप्रिशिएट हो गया, जो 50 रुपए में हम $1 खरीद पा रहे थे वो 100 रुपीज में हम खरीद पा रहे हैं, तो रुपी की वैल्यू क्या है, कम हो गई. Now when rupee depreciates, what impact does it have on the FPIs? FPI increase होंगे, decrease होंगे, इसको समझ लेते हैं. For example, a person is investing 1,000 rupees in India. So जब ये 1,000 rupees India के अंदर आएंगे, when these are going to come to India, they will be converted into rupees, and its value becomes rupees 50,000. So a person A is investing a total of 50,000 rupees in our country. Now, if the rupee is depreciating, अगर वो rupee depreciate हो जाता है and rupee depreciates to ₹100, then this 50,000 rupees that he has invested and he wants to take it out, वो वापस लेके जाना चाह रहा है, then that amount will be $500 only. If he wants to take back his investment and move out of the country, then he will be taking back only $500. तो $500 क्यों लेके जाएगा? क्योंकि रुपए की वैल्यू जो है वो डिप्रिशिएट हो गई। इंडिया में जब वो था तो उसकी इन्वेस्टमेंट 50,000 थी। When this investment is going out of India, it is converted into $500. तो this is the risk that they are seeing कि अगर रुपए की वैल्यू डिप्रिशिएट होगी तो जो इन्वेस्टमेंट उन्होंने किया है उसकी वैल्यू भी डिप्रिशिएट हो जाएगी। तो $1,000 की इन्वेस्टमेंट विल बी कन्वर्टेड इनटू $500 इन्वेस्टमेंट। That's why the first statement is right, because it is saying the rupee depreciation will lead to the risk of capital loss. तो there is a capital loss. That's why FPIs tend to move out. कि क्या पता रुपए की वैल्यू और ज्यादा डेप्रिशिएट हो जाए तो उसको अवॉइड करने के लिए, लॉस को अवॉइड करने के लिए दे मूव आउट ऑफ द कंट्री. सो द फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट इज राइट. सेकंड स्टेटमेंट, sustained FPI outflows are likely to contribute to the rise of bond yields due to capital flight. Now first of all, what is a bond yield? Bond yield simple है. Bond yield is equal to the coupon amount that is received upon the face value of the bond. What is the coupon amount? Coupon amount is the rate of interest or the rate of return promised to investor. और बॉन्ड क्या होता है? बॉन्ड होता है कि कोई भी जो जिसको the person who has to raise money, he is going to issue a bond and he is going to take funds from you and he is going to issue a bond. So while issuing that bond, he is going to promise you a coupon rate. Coupon rate means rate of return. For example, a bond is of rupees 100 value, and he is saying कि I will be offering you 10% return on this on the value of the bond. So every year you are going to get 10 rupees. So every year you will be getting 10 rupees until this bond matures. Now, when the capital is moving out of the country, for example, this is our country. So if the capital is moving out of the country in the form of FPI outflows, that means जो रुपये यहाँ पे था वो कम हो गया. When this rupee or the money supply in the country is decreasing, so what it is going to do? It is going to decrease the demand also. Demand for the investment avenues. So the bond demand will also decrease. जब बॉन्ड डिमांड डिक्रीज होगी तो यानी फेस वैल्यू बॉन्ड की क्या हो जाएगी? डिक्लाइन हो जाएगी. तो द फेस वैल्यू ऑफ द बॉन्ड इज गोइंग टू डिक्रीज, बट कूपन रिटर्न जो सेम रहेगा क्योंकि वो आपको बॉन्ड की वैल्यू पे मिलता है जो इनिशियली जिसपे वो लॉन्च किया गया था. तो एवरी ईयर यू आर गोइंग टू गेट 10 रुपीज. तो द कूपन अमाउंट इज रिमेनिंग सेम बट द फेस वैल्यू ऑफ द बॉन्ड इज डिक्रीजिंग. दैट्स व्हाई द बॉन्ड यील्ड इज गोइंग टू इंक्रीज. So this second statement also becomes right. The bond yield is going to rise. I hope this is clear to you. So second statement is also right. Now come to third statement. Contractionary monetary policies like to help in managing the excessive outflow, FPI outflows from India. Now what is the meaning of contractionary monetary policy? Contractionary monetary policy का क्या मतलब है कि हम मनी सप्लाई को कम कर रहे हैं कंट्री से. और कौन कम कर रहा है? आरबीआई और सेंट्रल बैंक इज डूइंग दैट थिंग. Whenever we are decreasing the money supply from the economy, what is happening? It is increasing the value of the rupee. Whenever the money supply is deliberately decreased, internally ये बात हो रही है, it is decreased internally, that means it is increasing the value of the rupee. When the value of the rupee is increasing, it is actually halting this depreciation of the rupee. When we are increasing the value of the rupee by contractionary monetary policy, it is reducing the depreciation of the rupee value. When the value of the rupee depreciation is being halted, that means it is going to help in managing excessive outflows, FPI outflows. जो भी outflow हुआ है उसको रोकने में वो help करेगा. So this third statement also become correct here. So answer here becomes option C. All the three are correct. So for question number 8, answer is option C. Now next is question number 9. It says sluggish deposit growth has been a concern for the Indian banking sector in recent times. Which of the following factors is likely to contribute to this trend? So first thing is higher interest rates on the small savings schemes. So if the small saving schemes, what are the small saving schemes? For example, post office में जो savings होती है वो हो गए, सुकन्या समृद्धि योजना हो गई, और your PPF that also comes under small saving schemes, or you can have Kisan Vikas Patra is also a type of small saving schemes. So there are multiple small saving schemes. So whenever the interest rate in these small saving schemes is increasing, that obviously means that the general public is going to invest in these schemes rather than investing in the bank deposits. So बैंक डिपॉजिट में इन्वेस्ट ना करके कहां इन्वेस्टमेंट होगी? स्मॉल सेविंग स्कीम्स में, ड्यू टू विच देयर विल बी स्लगिश डिपॉजिट ग्रोथ. डिपॉजिट हेयर मींस बैंक डिपॉजिट्स. So the bank deposits that are with the banks, they are not increasing, or there is a sluggish growth. Why? First reason can be कि the small saving schemes interest rate is high. Second is increasing preference for investment in capital markets. That is another reason. Why? Because we have seen in recent times also the stock market is giving more returns than the bank deposits or our fixed deposits. So when we are investing in the capital markets, the return is more. If the return is more, that means public is going to invest here also. So this second one is also right. Third one is decrease in the cash reserve ratio by RBI. So first of all, tell me what is cash reserve ratio? होता क्या है cash reserve ratio? Cash reserve ratio वो अमाउंट है जो बैंक्स को अपने पास रखना पड़ता है और उसके ऊपर they are not getting any kind of interest, and that is mandated by RBI. So if there is decrease in cash reserve ratio, that means for example if bank is having 100 rupees, total deposit मान लो बैंक के पास 100 rupees है, and RBI says कि 4% is the cash reserve ratio, and rest is SLR and other lending activities that the bank can do. So 4% means that 4 rupees bank have to kept as CRR. Now if we are decreasing this 4% to 2%, so that means now bank have to keep 2 rupees in CRR and they have 98 rupees to lend. Now अब इसका कोई भी impact बैंक डिपॉजिट्स पे नहीं पड़ेगा, बिकॉज यहां पे बैंक की लेंडिंग कैपेबिलिटी इंप्रूव हुई है. द लेंडिंग कैपेबिलिटी ऑफ द बैंक्स हैव इंक्रीज्ड. दैट मींस दे हैव नाउ मोर फंड्स टू गिव लोन्स और डिसबर्स लोन्स. हाउएवर देयर बैंक डिपॉजिट्स हैव नॉट इंक्रीज्ड. सो जितना बैंक डिपॉजिट पहले था उतने ही बैंक डिपॉजिट में दे हैव नाउ मोर फंड्स टू लेंड. सो दिस इज नॉट अ रीजन फॉर द स्लगिश डिपॉजिट ग्रोथ. करेक्ट, राइट? सो सीआरआर का कोई इंपैक्ट नहीं होगा बैंक डिपॉजिट्स के ऊपर. नाउ द डायरेक्टली द आंसर इज ऑप्शन ए, दैट इज 1 and 2 only. Now next comes is the question number 10. It is about कि despite being a leading producer of jute and cotton, India is not able to fully capitalize on the textile export potential. Which of the following correctly explains this? तो पहली चीज है, global demand has increasingly shifted towards textile made from man-made fibers, but India does not have a significant production of MMF. तो इस स्टेटमेंट के अंदर there are two parts. फर्स्ट पार्ट है जो उसका रीजन है कि ग्लोबल डिमांड क्योंकि MMF पे चली गई, यानी मैन मैन्युफैक्चर्ड फाइबर्स पे चली गई है, इसलिए वो कॉटन एंड जूट की डिक्लाइन हुई डिमांड. सेकंड स्टेटमेंट इज इंडिया के पास एक सिग्निफिकेंट प्रोडक्शन नहीं है MMF की. तो इन दोनों स्टेटमेंट्स को हमें एनालाइज करना होगा. देखो, फाइबर्स आपके दो तरह के होते हैं. फाइबर्स आर ऑफ टू टाइप्स. वन इज योर नेचुरल फाइबर्स. नेचुरल फाइबर कौन से होंगे? कॉटन हो गया, जूट हो गया, इस टाइप के फाइबर्स कैसे हो गए? नेचुरल फाइबर्स. देन सेकेंड आर मैन मेड फाइबर्स. एंड मैन मेड फाइबर्स के अंदर भी दो तरह के आते हैं. एक होते हैं सिंथेटिक फाइबर्स. सेकेंड बनते हैं वुड पल्प से. Synthetic fibers include like nylon, polyester. These are synthetic fibers. So synthetic fibers are nylon, polyester, etc. Now the question is कि the demand for the natural fibers has declined from India. उसका रीजन क्या है? फर्स्ट रीजन इज दैट सिंथेटिक फाइबर्स की डिमांड इंक्रीज हुई है. सिंथेटिक फाइबर्स टुडे अकाउंट फॉर 75% ऑफ द ऑल फाइबर्स, यानी 75% फाइबर्स कहां से आता है? सिंथेटिक से. एंड इवन 60% ओनली कम्स फ्रॉम द पॉलिएस्टर. जो भी ग्लोबली फाइबर्स यूज हो रहे हैं उसमें 60% जो है वो पॉलिएस्टर फाइबर है. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इंपॉर्टेंट रीजन इज सिंथेटिक फाइबर्स की जो डिमांड है वो ज्यादा है, जिसकी वजह से नेचुरल फाइबर्स की डिमांड कम हुई है. और डिमांड क्यों ज्यादा है? इट्स वेरी ऑब्वियस, दे आर मोर ड्यूरेबल. सिंथेटिक फाइबर्स आर, दे हैव बेटर स्ट्रेंथ, दे आर मोर अफोर्डेबल. चीप आते हैं ये, इसको अफोर्ड इजीली किया जा सकता है, इसलिए भी इनकी डिमांड ज्यादा है. वेदर का जो इम्पैक्ट है दैट इज ऑल्सो वेरी लो, तो दे कैन इजिली हैंडल वेदर इम्पैक्ट, तो दे हैव मोर लाइफ. दैट्स व्हाई सिंथेटिक फाइबर्स आर बीइंग मोर यूज्ड. सेकेंडली, जो सेकेंड, तो फर्स्ट पार्ट तो स्टेटमेंट का राइट है. नाउ सेकेंड पार्ट, इंडिया डज नॉट हैव अ सिग्निफिकेंट प्रोडक्शन ऑफ एमएमएफ. दिस इज एब्सोल्युटली रॉन्ग. इंडिया इज द सेकेंड लार्जेस्ट globally. India is the second largest producer of the main manufactured fibers. So this first statement becomes wrong. Why? Because the second statement here is, this second statement is wrong. Second statement comes, India's textile sector is primarily dominated by micro, small and medium enterprises, which limits the economies of scale and efficiency. Yes, our textiles are basically dominated by the MSMEs. और MSMEs में dominate होने की वजह से क्या होता है कि we are having smaller units. These are smaller units and these are fragmented units also. So these are smaller plus fragmented. Smaller और fragmented होने की वजह से क्या है? They are less efficient. These are less efficient. Why? Because छोटी हैं तो इकोनॉमीज ऑफ स्केल को यूटिलाइज नहीं कर पाती हैं. So this second statement is right. Yes, India is dominated by MSMEs. That's why we are less efficient. We have high production cost. Our production cost is high, which makes us less price competitive. That's the other reason for less demand for jute and cotton fabric. So second statement is right here. So answer becomes option B, that is 2 only. So for question number 10, the answer is option 2. Question number 12 says, Union Budget 2025 recently announced mission for Atmanirbharta in pulses. In this context, consider the following statement. First is, India is the largest producer as well as largest importer of pulses in the world. This statement is correct. India is the largest producer, largest importer and largest consumer of the pulses. At global level, India produces 25%. That means 25% of the global production of pulses is done in India only. So it is 25% of the global production. उसके साथ India imports 14% of total global exports. तो जितना भी पल्सेस एक्सपोर्ट होता है उसका 14% इंडिया ही इंपोर्ट करता है. एंड इंडिया कंज्यूम्स 27% ऑफ द टोटल ग्लोबल कंजम्पशन. तो इफ एट ग्लोबल लेवल 100 lakh tons ऑफ पल्सेस इज बीइंग कंज्यूम्ड, उसका 27% इंडिया में कंज्यूम होता है. तो इंडिया इज द लार्जेस्ट प्रोड्यूसर, importer and consumer of the pulses. So first statement here is absolutely correct. Second, under the price support scheme, the government procures notified pulses at minimum support price to support the farmers. This statement is absolutely right. देखो, we are importing the pulses, so we need to actually encourage our farmers कि वो और ज्यादा दालें उगाएं, वो और ज्यादा pulses उगाएं. तो उसके लिए procurement हमें ensure करनी होगी. Secondly, we have seen farmer protests हुए हैं, everything has been there. Why the farmer protests were there? To provide MSPs for basically for rice and wheat. तो rice and wheat system से दूर करने के लिए भी हमें करना होगा कुछ ना कुछ. तो that's why government under the price support scheme is going for MSP. And we have one scheme, you might have heard about it, PM Asha. The name of the scheme is Pradhan Mantri Annadata Aay Suraksha Yojana. Under this scheme, we are having this price support scheme for providing MSPs to the farmers. So this statement is again correct. And we are also having a crop diversification program. And this crop diversification program, it is being implemented in the older green revolution states that were Haryana, Punjab and Western UP. So this crop diversification program is also being implemented to improve the pulses production. Third is to encourage domestic production. The government of India has recently increased the import duties on all the major pulses. So first of all, this statement is wrong. Why? Because India ने duty free कर दिया है. It has been made duty free. If anyone is importing pulses from outside countries, then it is duty free. Why duty free? Because India is the largest consumer of pulses also and largest importer is also. So although by increasing the import duty, we might have stopped the imports, but the problem is that कि उसकी वजह से जो inflation है वो ज़्यादा हो जाएगा. तो to manage the inflation also, recently the government has made the import of pulses duty free till the time we are self-sufficient in the production. And Canada is one of the exporters of pulses to India. So the third statement here is wrong. Answer here becomes option A, that is 1 and 2 only. Now next is question number, no, this is the data with respect to the import and exports. So in 2021-22 we had imports of 26.99 lakhs and exports were hardly 4 lakh ton. Then in 23-24 it was 47.38 lakhs. तो देखो almost double हो गया यहाँ पे. 24.96 था, यहाँ से कितना हो गया 47.838 and exports have actually declined. तो एक्सपोर्ट जो है पल्सेस में डिक्लाइन हुए हैं और इंपोर्ट जो है वो इंक्रीज हुए हैं. तो वी हैव अ ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ इंपोर्ट्स फॉर द पल्सेस. अगर हम इसको स्टॉप कर देंगे तो अवर प्राइसेस फॉर द पल्सेस दे विल स्काई रॉकेट. तो इन्फ्लेशन बहुत ज्यादा हो जाएगा. सो टू स्टॉप दैट द गवर्नमेंट हैज एक्चुअली मेड इट ड्यूटी फ्री टू कंट्रोल द इन्फ्लेशन पार्ट. नाउ नेक्स्ट इज क्वेश्चन नंबर 13. इट सेज कंसिडर द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट. इफ आरबीआई इंजेक्ट्स new currency into the economy, both monetary base and money multiplier will increase. So first of all we have to see what is monetary base, secondly what is money multiplier. देखो monetary base क्या होता है? Monetary base is the total amount of currency in circulation plus deposit, bank deposits to the RBI. So monetary base actually includes two things. One is total currency in circulation and the bank deposits with RBI. This is our monetary base. What is money multiplier? Money multiplier का मतलब ये होता है कि अगर there is 1 rupee that is added to the money supply, then how much impact it is having. यानी जितना भी हमारा monetary base है, उस monetary base से हम कितना अपनी करेंसी को और ज़्यादा कर पाते हैं. I just give you an example. Now for example, 1000 rupees are injected by RBI to the banks or to the market. So 1000 rupees have been injected to the market. When these 1000 rupees are being injected to the market, they are going to be deposited at the banks. Because if you give me 1000 rupees, I am not going to keep it as cash. More or less, I will be depositing in the banks only. So whenever new money is being added to the market, that money more or less or the major portion of that money is going to the banks only. Hardly 1 or 2% is kept as cash. More or less the money is deposited at the banks only. Now when the money is deposited at the banks have two options. The bank have to do two things. One thing is that they have to comply with the reserve ratio. The RBI उनको prescribe करता है. For example, CRR is there, SLR is there. So according to these norms, they have to put that in reserve part. और जो बाकी बचा हुआ money है, that is 600 rupees वो आगे लोन में दे सकते हैं टू द पब्लिक, टू द कॉर्पोरेट्स और टू whoever they want to. तो they have to put some amount as reserve and they have to give the other as a loan. तो जो भी अमाउंट उनके पास डिपॉजिट होगा उसका 40%, आई एम जस्ट टेकिंग एन एग्जांपल कि दिस क्यूमुलेटिव CRR एंड SLR इट अमाउंट्स टू 40% ऑफ द रिजर्व्स. तो 40% हैज टू बी केप्ट एज द रिजर्व और जो बाकी अमाउंट है वो लोन में दे सकते हैं. Now when this amount is given to the loan, for example I have taken loan of 600 rupees, तो I am not going to utilize it fully. मैं क्या करूंगा, इसमें से कुछ चीज को यूटिलाइज करूंगा और बाकी पैसे को या तो बैंक में रख दूंगा, धीरे धीरे उसको यूटिलाइज करूंगा. एंड वेयर एवर आई एम स्पेंडिंग दिस अमाउंट, दैट अदर पर्सन इज ऑल्सो गोइंग टू कीप दैट अमाउंट इन द बैंक ओनली. तो ये घूम फिर के जो अमाउंट है सारा का सारा दोबारा से बैंक में ही आ जाएगा वापस. अगेन बैंक इज गेटिंग न्यू मनी. नाउ बैंक क्या करेगा, उसको 40% रखना है रिजर्व्स में और बाकी वो कर सकता है 360 रुपीज को लेंड आउट. तो दिस 600 रुपीज का 40% एंड 600 रुपीज का 60% जो लोन में डिसबर्स कर दिया गया. देन अगेन दिस 360 रुपीज ये दोबारा से कहां जाएगा, बैंक उसमें जाएगा. इसका फिर दोबारा से 216 रुपीज यानी 60% अमाउंट जो है वो फिर से लोन अमाउंट में जाएगा. तो दिस साइकिल गोज ऑन टिल इट एक्चुअली गोज अबाउट टू जीरो. तो ऑलमोस्ट जीरो होने के बाद तो इट इज वेरी लेस प्रोबेबिलिटी कि वो दोबारा से होगा. तो जो भी अमाउंट बैंक्स में डिपॉजिट हुआ है, जो भी नया अमाउंट आया मनी सप्लाई में, दैट अमाउंट एक्चुअली इज गेटिंग मल्टीपल टाइम्स डिसबर्स्ड बाय द बैंक्स. तो ये क्या कर रहा है, ये क्यूमुलेटिवली इस 1000 रुपीज को किसमें कन्वर्ट कर देगा, 2500 रुपीज में. तो दिस 1000 रुपीज, जो 1000 रुपीज हमने ऐड किया या आरबीआई ने जो ऐड किया मार्केट के अंदर, उसका इंपैक्ट क्या हुआ, इट एक्चुअली गॉट कन्वर्टेड इनटू 2500 रुपीज. व्हाई, बिकॉज इट इज बीइंग डिस्पर्स्ड एज द लोन्स. सो व्हेन वी टेक, तो मनी मल्टीप्लायर बन जाता है 2500 डिवाइडेड बाय 1000. तो द एक्चुअल अमाउंट ऑफ मनी दैट इज सप्लाइड डिवाइडेड बाय the money that was injected by the RBI. So this becomes money multiplier. So यहाँ पे वो वैल्यू आ जाएगी 2.5. तो I hope you have understood what is money multiplier and what is monetary base. Now coming back to the question. The question says, if the Reserve Bank of India injects new currency into the economy, both monetary base and money supply will increase. तो देखो न्यू करेंसी अगर ऐड की गई है तो ऑब्वियसली टोटल करेंसी में ऐड होगा सर्कुलेशन में, तो मॉनेटरी बेस तो इंक्रीज होगा. बिकॉज इफ 1000 रुपीज को ऐड किया गया है तो वो जाके मनी सप्लाई में ऐड हो जाएगा, तो इट इज गोइंग टू इंक्रीज द मॉनेटरी बेस. नाउ विद रिस्पेक्ट टू मनी मल्टीप्लायर, वो इंक्रीज होगा या नहीं होगा. देखो मनी मल्टीप्लायर क्या होता है कि जो टोटल वैल्यू है जो उस मनी ने क्रिएट की डिवाइडेड बाय द मनी सप्लाई. तो इफ द मनी सप्लाई इज इंक्रीजिंग तो ऑब्वियसली द मनी मल्टीप्लाई इज गोइंग टू डिक्रीज, क्योंकि इनवर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल है. सो दिस सेकंड स्टेटमेंट इज रॉन्ग बिकॉज इट विल नॉट इंक्रीज. सो दिस फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट बिकम्स wrong here. Second is, a reduction in the cash reserve ratio by RBI will keep the monetary base unchanged and will increase the money multiplier. देखो अगर मान लो कैश रिजर्व रेशियो को कम कर दिया आरबीआई ने, तो वी गो टू द प्रीवियस स्लाइड इटसेल्फ. यस, अगर मान लो कैश रिजर्व रेशियो को कम कर दिया, अभी मान लो 40% है, उसको कर दिया गया 30%. तो अगर 30% करेंगे तो क्या होगा, तो यहाँ पे आ जाएगा 300 रुपीज और यहाँ पे आ जाएगा 700 रुपीज जो बैंक आगे लोन में दे सकता है. दिस 700 ये यहाँ जाएगा एंड 700 का अगेन 30% कितना होगा, 210 रुपीज, एंड उसमें से हम 60% लेंगे तो कितना आएगा, 42, आई थिंक 42 ही आएगा. तो समथिंग लाइक दिस विल बी देयर. तो बाय दिस मैनर तो क्या हुआ, एक तरह से हमारा जो मनी मल्टीप्लायर वो इंक्रीज हो जाएगा. क्यों, क्योंकि जो क्यूमुलेटिव वैल्यू आएगी निकल की, इट विल इंक्रीज. सो द सेकेंड स्टेटमेंट इज करेक्ट हियर. रिजर्व रेशियो की वजह से मॉनेटरी बेस के ऊपर कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा, क्योंकि इसके अंदर या इसके अंदर कोई नया अमाउंट ऐड नहीं हुआ. सो दिस पार्ट इज करेक्ट. सेकेंड पार्ट कि it will increase the money multiplier. Yes, it will increase the money multiplier because now 1000 rupees is having a more impact. So this second statement becomes right here. Third, an increase in the money multiplier is likely to expand the money supply even if द मॉनेटरी बेस रिमेन्स कॉन्स्टेंट। तो अगर मनी मल्टीप्लायर की जो वो है, इफ द मनी मल्टीप्लायर्स वैल्यू इज इंक्रीजिंग, तो उससे क्या होगा, मनी सप्लाई में इंक्रीज होगा। यस, ऑब्वियसली होगा मनी सप्लाई में इंक्रीज। अगर मनी मल्टीप्लायर ज्यादा लेंगे, मान लो पहले मनी मल्टीप्लायर था 2.5, नाउ मनी मल्टीप्लायर इज 3.5, तो ऑब्वियसली मनी सप्लाई इज गोइंग टू इंक्रीज, मॉनेटरी बेस इज may remain the same. So the third statement is also right here. So answer becomes option B, that is 2 and 3 only. Now next is question number 13. Question number 14 we have. Question number 14 says exchange traded funds and index funds have contributed to recent increase in the retail participation in financial market. Which of the following correctly differentiates between them? तो let's see. पहले तो exchange traded funds क्या होते हैं? Exchange traded funds and index funds वो दोनों almost same चीजें हैं, पर index funds क्या है? Index funds are always traded after the market. Exchange traded funds वो market के बीच में भी हो सकते हैं। दूसरी चीज क्या है? Exchange traded funds जो है वो index के लिए भी हो सकते हैं, वो commodities के लिए भी हो सकते हैं, वो स्टॉक्स वगैरह के लिए भी हो सकते हैं, सिक्योरिटीज वगैरह के लिए भी हो सकते हैं। तो दिस एक्सचेंज ट्रेडेड फंड्स दे कैन बी फॉर मल्टीपल थिंग्स, दे कैन बी फॉर स्टॉक्स, दे कैन बी फॉर बॉन्ड, दे कैन बी फॉर कमोडिटीज, दे कैन बी फॉर इंडिसेस। इंडिसेस का मतलब क्या है? जैसे निफ्टी हो गया, दैट इज अ इंडेक्स, सेंसेक्स हो गया, दैट इज अ इंडेक्स। तो निफ्टी और सेंसेक्स के लिए जो फंड्स क्रिएट किए जाते हैं उसे हम बोलते हैं एक्सचेंज ट्रेडेड फंड्स या इंडेक्स फंड्स। तो इंडेक्स फंड्स क्या होंगे? इंडेक्स फंड्स इनके बेसिस पे होंगे। एक्सचेंज ट्रेडेड फंड्स इनको भी इंक्लूड करेंगे और उसके अलावा कमोडिटीज पे भी होंगे। जैसे हमारे पास कमोडिटीज के लिए आता है गोल्ड ईटीएफ, ये तो पहली चीज है, बनते किसके बेस पे है। दूसरी चीज क्या, ये वर्क कैसे करेंगे? तो जैसे जैसे आपकी मार्केट राइज करेगी, इन इंडेक्स फंड की और ईटीएफ की वैल्यू भी इंक्रीज करेगी। जैसे जैसे मार्केट डाउनफॉल पे आएगी, इनकी वैल्यू भी डिक्रीज करेगी। फॉर एग्जांपल, मान लो कुछ टाइम पहले द वैल्यू ऑफ निफ्टी वाज 24,000, नाउ इट हैज कम डाउन टू 22,000। हो सकता है आने वाले 6 मंथ्स में या 2 ईयर्स के अंदर ये वैल्यू बढ़ के हो जाए 26,000। तो जो इंडेक्स फंड जिसने खरीदा होगा निफ्टी या सेंसेक्स के बेसिस पे, उन इंडेक्स फंड्स की वैल्यू भी इसके साथ फ्लक्चुएट करेगी। तो ये किसके साथ अटैच्ड है? ये आपके इंडेक्सेस के साथ अटैच्ड है। सिमिलरली ईटीएफ भी है। अब जैसे गोल्ड था, गोल्ड वाज सम टाइम बैक वाज अराउंड 78,000 रुपीज फॉर 10 ग्राम्स, नाउ इट एक्चुअली skyrocketed to 90,000। तो whoever has bought this gold ETF, उसके जो ETF की वैल्यू है वो भी 90,000 के कोरस्पॉन्डिंग हो जाएगी। तो विदाउट एक्चुअली बाइंग दैट कमोडिटी और दैट बॉन्ड, what you are doing, you are actually buying the funds related with those commodities, those bonds or those indices. Now let's come back to the question. First says ETFs are actively managed whereas index funds follow a passive investment. What is this active and passive investment? Simple है। एक्टिव इन्वेस्टमेंट क्या है? जो मार्केट को बीट करते हैं। Whichever is able to beat the market, that is active investment. जैसे कि हमने फॉर एग्जाम्पल यू बाय अ पर्टिकुलर स्टॉक, मान लो आपने रिलायंस स्टॉक के अंदर इन्वेस्ट किया, तो रिलायंस का जो स्टॉक है हो सकता है आने वाले 3 मंथ्स में इट इज गिविंग यू अ रिटर्न ऑफ 20%। वेयर एवर जो निफ्टी है, निफ्टी इज हार्डली गिविंग अ बेनिफिट ऑफ 4 to 5%। तो इफ यू हैव इन्वेस्टेड इन निफ्टी यू वुड हैव बी गेटिंग 5% रिटर्न। यू इन्वेस्टेड इन रिलायंस, यू आर गेटिंग अ रिटर्न ऑफ 20%। तो आपने क्या किया? मार्केट को बीट कर दिया। So that is an active investment when you are able to get more return which the market could have provided or which the market has actually appreciated. Now दोनों के जो ETF हैं और जो index funds हैं, दोनों किससे अटैच है? मार्केट से अटैच है। When both are market attached, तो how they can be active? How they can be actively invested? They are both passive investment. अगर मार्केट ऊपर जाएगी तो द फंड्स की वैल्यू भी ऊपर जाएगी, अगर मार्केट नीचे जाएगी तो उनकी वैल्यू भी नीचे जाएगी। सो दिस फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट इज रॉन्ग। व्हाई? बिकॉज इट इज नॉट एन एक्टिव पार्ट, इट इज नॉट एक्टिवली मैनेज्ड, इट इज पैसिवली मैनेज्ड। सेकंड, ETF provide guaranteed returns whereas index funds have variable returns based on the market condition. ETF की भी वही कंडीशन है, इट टोटली डिपेंड्स अपॉन द मार्केट कंडीशन. फॉर एग्जांपल गोल्ड, द प्राइस इज राइजन, तो गोल्ड ETF की वैल्यू इंक्रीज हो गई. इफ द प्राइस फॉल्स, तो गोल्ड ETF की वैल्यू भी कम हो जाएगी. तो इट इज नॉट गिविंग ए गारंटीड रिटर्न, तो ये भी हो जाएगा रॉन्ग. थर्ड, ETF are traded on stock exchanges like regular stock, whereas index funds are bought and sold at the fund's net asset value at the end of the trading day. This is the basic difference between ETF and index funds. This is correct. ETF को आप stocks की तरह आप trade कर सकते हैं. In the whole day during the market hours, you can buy the ETF, you can sell the ETF. Whereas if you are having index funds, then you can buy and sell at the end of the day. एंड ऑफ द डे पे उसकी एक वैल्यू निकाली जाएगी, उस पे ही आप उसको ट्रेड कर सकते हो. तो दिस थर्ड स्टेटमेंट इज एब्सोल्युटली राइट हियर. फोर्थ, इंडेक्स फंड्स ऑफर बेटर लिक्विडिटी देन ETF बिकॉज द इन्वेस्टर कैन रिडीम दैट डायरेक्टली. ये तो रॉन्ग हो गया, क्योंकि ETF को आप पूरे दिन में कभी भी ट्रेड कर सकते हो, तो ऑब्वियसली लिक्विडिटी किसकी ज्यादा होगी, ETF की ज्यादा होगी रेदर देन द इंडेक्स फंड्स. सो द फोर्थ ऑप्शन इज ऑल्सो रॉन्ग. Now from this question one clue that you get is that जब भी आप किसी स्टेटमेंट को wrong या right बोलते हो, you should be having a logical reasoning for that. Whenever you are saying that first statement is wrong, क्यों wrong है आपको ये define करना है, तो इससे आपकी accuracy improve हो जाएगी. चलिए हम चलते हैं next slot पे, that is 54 to 59 वाले questions पे. Now question number 54 says the United States is India's largest trading partner, but India is not the largest trading partner of USA. Obviously, the first statement is right. US is the India's largest trading partner, but that the vice versa is not true. So the first statement becomes correct here. If you want to see the figures, so USA amounts for 17.9%. USA accounts for 17 or you can say 18% of the trade is with USA, that is highest. उसके बाद है UAE के साथ 8.23%. तो 18% यूएसए के साथ है, उसके बाद यूएई के साथ है, फिर नीदरलैंड्स, चाइना, सिंगापुर, यूके, इस तरह से आएगा. और रेस्ट ऑफ द ट्रेड है 49% है बाकी कंट्रीज के साथ. तो ये जो कंट्रीज हैं ये ऑलमोस्ट द अमाउंट फॉर 51% ऑफ द ट्रेड ऑफ इंडिया. सो द फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट इज करेक्ट हियर. सेकेंड इज इंडिया मेंटेन्स अ ट्रेड सरप्लस इन सर्विसेज विद द यूएस while runs a trade deficit in merchandise goods. This statement is wrong here. इंडिया का सर्विस के अंदर भी ट्रेड सरप्लस है और मर्चेंडाइज के अंदर भी ट्रेड सरप्लस है, तो दोनों में ही इंडिया ट्रेड सरप्लस मेंटेन करता है. एंड दैट ट्रेड सरप्लस इज अराउंड $41 बिलियन. कितना है इंडिया का ट्रेड सरप्लस? $41 बिलियन. थर्ड, इंडिया अकाउंट्स फॉर द लार्जेस्ट शेयर ऑफ द ओवरऑल ट्रेड डेफिसिट ऑफ यूएसए. ये देख लेते हैं कि है या नहीं है. देखो यूएसए इज नॉट ओनली ट्रेडिंग विद इंडिया, यूएसए चाइना के साथ भी ट्रेड कर रहा है. यूएसए इज ऑल्सो ट्रेडिंग विद मेक्सिको ऑल्सो. तो चाइना का ही एग्जांपल ले लेते हैं. ट्रंप के जो सबसे पहले सैंक्शंस लगे वो किस कंट्री पे लगे? चाइना के ऊपर. व्हाई? बिकॉज चाइना का साथ जो ट्रेड डेफिसिट है दैट इज टू हाई. इंडिया तो बहुत नीचे आता है. सो इन टर्म्स ऑफ ट्रेड डेफिसिट India comes at 11th position with respect to USA. China, Mexico, Vietnam, Ireland, Germany, they are having much more trade deficit with USA. यानी USA का जो trade deficit है वो इन countries का ज़्यादा है बजाय इंडिया के. इंडिया का तो बहुत नीचे 11th नंबर पे है. So the answer, the third statement becomes wrong here. First is right, second is wrong. So it is asking how many statements are correct. So correct is only one, that is option A is the right answer here. Now next is question number 55. It says, consider the following statement regarding the sugar sector in India. Now with respect to sugar sector, let's see. The first statement here is, Government of India regulates the minimum price that the sugar mills must pay to the farmers for sugarcane through fair and remunerative price. Now let's see how the sugar industry works. Farmer is going to produce the sugarcane. This sugar cane will be bought by the sugar mills and they are going to produce sugar. So the price that will be given to farmer will be fair and remunerative price. This fair and remunerative price, it was introduced in 2009 and it was introduced under the sugar cane कंट्रोल ऑर्डर ऑफ 1966। तो उसमें ये इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया 2009 में कि मिल्स को एक फेयर और रेन्यूमरेटिव प्राइस देना होगा फार्मर्स को फॉर देयर शुगर केन। नाउ मिल्स जब जाते हैं शुगर को मार्केट में सेल करने के लिए, इफ देयर द शुगर प्राइस इज नॉट वेरी हाई, अगर शुगर प्राइस बहुत कम हो जाता है तो उसमें क्या होगा, मिल्स ओनर्स के ऊपर एक ऑब्लिगेशन आ जाएगी, दे विल नॉट बी एबल टू रन प्रॉफिटेबली। तो ये बार बार हो रहा था, इसी वजह से जो भी मिल्स को देना था पैसा फार्मर्स को, वो काफी ज्यादा पेंडिंग चल रहा था। To overcome that, in 2018, government brought sugar control order. Under the sugar control order, एक minimum selling price was introduced कि शुगर इससे नीचे प्राइस पे नहीं बेची जाएगी। तो that is the minimum selling price that the mills will get from the market. It was introduced in 2018. So the first statement is right. Yes, fair and remunerative price रहता है sugar canes के लिए. Second है, the government of India determines the minimum selling price of sugar below which the sugar mills cannot sell the sugar in the market. वो इसलिए नहीं है ताकि जो इनकी viability है वो maintained रहे. To maintain the viability of the sugar mills, the minimum selling price for sugars was introduced. Now मिनिमम सेलिंग प्राइस और मिनिमम सपोर्ट प्राइस ये दोनों अलग अलग चीजें हैं। मिनिमम सपोर्ट प्राइस गवर्नमेंट देती है किस पे, क्रॉप्स के ऊपर, जैसे व्हीट हो गया, राइस हो गया, बाजरा हो गया, इन पे मिलता है। मिनिमम सेलिंग प्राइस क्या है, ये वो प्राइस है जिसके नीचे कोई भी शुगर मिल मार्केट में शुगर को सेल नहीं कर सकती। वो किस लिए है, टू मेंटेन देयर वायबिलिटी। तो एक तरह से हम शुगर का मिनिमम प्राइस मेंटेन करते हैं, वो कौन डिसाइड करेगा, गवर्नमेंट डिसाइड करेगी। तो दिस सेकंड स्टेटमेंट इज आल्सो राइट। So which of the above statement is all are correct? Both the statements are correct here. So answer becomes option C, both 1 and 2. Next is question number 56. It says, recently gold smuggling cases in India have been on rise. इस context में देखते हैं क्या बोला है इसने। Custom duty applicable on gold carried by a passenger to India varies based upon the duration of stay abroad prior to returning. Yes, गवर्नमेंट ये चीज अकाउंट करती है कि अगर आप ज्यादा टाइम तो वहां रह रहे हो तो हो सकता है आपने ज्यादा बाय कर लिया हो गोल्ड। तो इस केस में ड्यूरेशन ऑफ स्टे को भी एक फैक्टर माना जाता है इन इम्पोजिंग द कस्टम ड्यूटी। तो फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट इज करेक्ट हियर। सेकंड इज फीमेल पैसेंजर्स आर अलाउड टू कैरी हायर क्वांटिटी ऑफ गोल्ड, ड्यूटी फ्री गोल्ड देन द मेल काउंटर पार्ट्स। दिस इज ऑल्सो करेक्ट। फीमेल पैसेंजर्स 20 ग्राम गोल्ड कैरी कर सकते हैं विदाउट पेइंग एनी कस्टम ड्यूटी, और ड्यूटी फ्री गोल्ड ये बोलेंगे हम इसको। तो दे कैन कैरी 20 grams ऑफ ड्यूटी फ्री गोल्ड and males can carry 10 grams of duty free gold. So both the statements are correct here. Answer becomes option C, both 1 and 2. This was actually based upon your knowledge part. तो जो भी करंट अफेयर्स में चल रहा है उसके नॉलेज के बेसिस पे ये क्वेश्चन आपसे पूछा गया है। नेक्स्ट इज क्वेश्चन नंबर 57. इट सेज which of the following measures the RBI most likely to take the control the high inflation. देखो इन्फ्लेशन क्यों होती है, व्हाट इज इन्फ्लेशन? इन्फ्लेशन इज द प्राइस राइज। इन्फ्लेशन इज बेसिकली प्राइस राइज। किस रेट से राइज हो रहा है प्राइस, हम क्या बोलते हैं, इन्फ्लेशन यानी महंगाई। नाउ किसी भी चीज का प्राइस राइज कब होगा, किसी भी चीज का प्राइस राइज कब होगा, जब उसकी डिमांड इंक्रीज हो। एक रीजन तो ये है प्राइस राइज का कि उसकी डिमांड हो गई इंक्रीज। दूसरा रीजन क्या हो सकता है कि जो उसकी कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन है वो इंक्रीज हो जाए। फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ आई हैव टू मेक दिस स्टाइलस और इसकी कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन इंक्रीज हो गई तो ऑब्वियसली आई हैव टू इंक्रीज द प्राइस, वरना मैं अपनी कंपनी रन नहीं कर पाऊंगा। तो एक तो हो गया हमारा कॉस्ट पुश इन्फ्लेशन, और दूसरा हमारा हो जाएगा डिमांड पुल इन्फ्लेशन। तो कॉस्ट पुश इन्फ्लेशन का काम को कौन देखेगा, गवर्नमेंट देखेगी, बिकॉज जो भी कंड्यूसिव चीजें हो सकती हैं जिससे कि इनपुट कॉस्ट कम की जा सके उस पर गवर्नमेंट ही कंट्रोल कर सकती है। आरबीआई क्या कर सकता है, आरबीआई डिमांड पुल इन्फ्लेशन को कंट्रोल करने की कोशिश कर सकता है। डिमांड कब इंक्रीज होगी, डिमांड इंक्रीज होगी या तो कोई चीज स्कैर्स हो गई यानी कम हो गई है, या फिर लोगों के पास पैसा ज्यादा है। तो वी कैन जस्ट से कि व्हेन मनी इज मोर एज कंपेयर टू द क्वांटिटी दैट इज बीइंग सप्लाइड। तो अगर मनी ज्यादा है, यानी मनी सप्लाई अगर ज्यादा है, तो उस केस में इट इज गोइंग टू इंक्रीज द डिमांड एंड इंक्रीज इन डिमांड विल गोइंग टू इंक्रीज द प्राइस। तो आरबीआई और सेंट्रल बैंक क्या करेगा, थ्रू इट्स मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी इज गोइंग टू कंट्रोल दिस मनी सप्लाई। इस मनी सप्लाई को कम किया जाए मार्केट से, जब वो कम होगी तो उसकी डिमांड भी कम हो जाएगी, और डिमांड कम होने से प्राइस को कंट्रोल भी किया जा सकता है, यानी इन्फ्लेशन को भी कंट्रोल किया जाएगा। सो पहला देख लेते हैं, डिक्रीज इन कैश रिजर्व रेशो। सीआरआर का क्या ऑब्जेक्टिव था, ये बैंक्स को बोलता है कि यू हैव टू कीप अ सर्टेन परसेंटेज ऑफ फंड्स विद आरबीआई, जिनके ऊपर ना उन्हें इंटरेस्ट मिलेगा, और वो सिर्फ एज सेफ रखे जाएंगे, ताकि कोई भी अगर कंटीजेंसी आती है तो सीआरआर को यूज किया जा सके। तो पहली चीज तो ये है। सेकंड क्या है, तो अगर इसको हम डिक्रीज करेंगे, तो इसको डिक्रीज करने का मतलब क्या है कि मान लो पहले सीआरआर था 4% और 100 रुपीज है बैंक के पास, तो बैंक पहले 96 रुपीज को मनी सप्लाई में ऐड कर पाता था और 4 रुपीज उसे रखने पड़ते थे आरबीआई के पास। अगर सीआरआर को डिक्रीज कर दिया जाए तो क्या होगा, इट विल गो 2%, मान लो 2% कर दिया सीआरआर को 4 से, तो अब क्या हुआ, अब 100 रुपीज में से 98 रुपीज वो मार्केट को दे सकता है और 2 रुपीज उसे आरबीआई को देने होंगे। तो यानी मनी सप्लाई क्या हो गई, इंक्रीज हो गई। अगर हम सीआरआर को डिक्रीज करेंगे तो दैट इज नॉट द ऑब्जेक्टिव हियर, ऑब्जेक्टिव इज टू डिक्रीज द मनी सप्लाई। सो द फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट बिकम्स रॉन्ग हियर। सेकंड, परचेज गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज इन द ओपन मार्केट। सेकंड इज परचेज गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज इन द ओपन मार्केट। तो देखो, जब आप मार्केट से गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज को परचेज करोगे तो क्या होगा, आरबीआई is going to take the government securities and is going to funnel or give money to the market. तो जब मार्केट के अंदर मनी जाएगा तो it is increasing the money supply. When the money supply is increasing, again the price is not going to be controlled. Demand और ज़्यादा बढ़ेगी. तो this is also not a good measure. Actually, the RBI should be selling government securities and absorbing money from there. So this second is also wrong. Third is increase the policy repo rate. देखो, पॉलिसी रेपो रेट से ही आपकी सारी चीजें लिंक्ड है। द इंटरेस्ट रेट ऑन विच द लोन्स आर गिवन, द इंटरेस्ट रेट ऑन द डिपॉजिट्स गिवन बाय द बैंक, कि जो भी हम मनी बैंक्स के पास रखेंगे उन डिपॉजिट्स के ऊपर जो इंटरेस्ट रेट मिलेगा वो भी रेपो रेट के साथ लिंक्ड है, और जिस रेट पे हम लोन बैंक से लेंगे वो भी किससे लिंक्ड है, रेपो रेट से लिंक्ड है। अगर रेपो रेट को इंक्रीज कर दिया जाए, इफ द रेपो रेट इज इंक्रीज, रेपो रेट इंक्रीज हुई, उस रेपो रेट की इंक्रीज होने से क्या होगा, लोन जो है वो महंगे हो जाएंगे। तो यानी द अमाउंट दैट आई एम गोइंग टू टेक, वो मुझे ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट उस पर पे करना पड़ेगा। सेकंड चीज क्या होगी कि द अमाउंट दैट आई एम डिपॉजिटिंग विद द बैंक्स, उस पर भी मुझे इंटरेस्ट ज्यादा मिलेगा। तो मेरी टेंडेंसी क्या होगी, वट एवर मनी आई हैव, आई विल ट्राई टू पुट इन द बैंक सो दैट आई गेट अ बेटर रिटर्न देयर एंड आई विल ट्राई टू अवॉइड टेकिंग लोन्स फ्रॉम देयर। तो what it is doing, it is decreasing the money supply in the market. Decreasing the money supply means decreasing the demand. Decreasing the demand means tackling price rise. So this third one becomes correct here. Last is reduce the statutory liquidity ratio. Again वो cash reserve ratio की तरह ही है। तो जब आप फ्री कर दोगे statutory liquidity ratio से, तो बैंक्स के पास बैंक के पास एक ऑप्शन होगा कि वो कॉमर्शियली ज्यादा लोन्स दे पाए जो हायर रेट पे रहता है। तो अगेन दिस ऑल्सो बिकम्स रॉन्ग हियर. So if we have to take a correct measure, so the CRR should be increased. The government securities should be sold by RBI, and the SLR or statutory liquidity ratio should be increased. So that should be the correct measure, and this increasing policy repo rate is the correct option here. So answer becomes option C. Now next question is question number 58. It is about cess and surcharge. See, cess क्या होता है? It is applied for a specific purpose. For example, there is a GST cess, there is a health cess, there is education cess, and whatever amounts come under this cess, उसको हम उसी specific purpose के लिए ही use कर सकते हैं, उसको divert नहीं किया जा सकता। यानी for example, health के लिए अगर कुछ आया है amount from the cess part, then it cannot be used for farmers. उसको हमें एजुकेशन या हेल्थ के लिए ही यूज करना होगा, उस पर्टिकुलर पर्पस के लिए यूज करना होगा। सेकेंड इज सरचार्ज. सरचार्ज एक्चुअली हम हाई वेल्थ या हाई वैल्यू इंडिविजुअल्स पर लगाते हैं, जिनकी इनकम बहुत ज़्यादा है उनके ऊपर लगाया जाता है सरचार्ज। तो इट इज अदर देन दी टैक्स, एक तो इनकम टैक्स होगा, उसके बाद सरचार्ज भी उनको पे करना होगा। नाउ लेट्स कम बैक टू द क्वेश्चन। फर्स्ट इज सेस इज एक्सप्लिसिटली मेंशन्ड इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया whereas surcharge is not. This is wrong. Under Article 271, both cess and surcharge have been mentioned. So it mentions about cess as well as surcharge. So the first statement becomes wrong here. Second is proceeds from cess are deposited in CFI, whereas those from surcharge are credited to separate fund. This statement is again wrong. The proceeds from the surcharge are also क्रेडिटेड टू CFI, वो CFI में ही वो डिपॉजिट होते हैं। थर्ड, सरचार्ज इज लेविड ओनली ऑन द डायरेक्ट टैक्सेस, whereas cess is imposed exclusively on the indirect tax. This again is wrong. Cess can be on the direct as well as on the indirect taxes. तो it is not कि आप सिर्फ indirect taxes पे ही impose करोगे, direct taxes पे impose होता है। So this third statement also becomes wrong here. Last, cess is calculated on total tax liability including the amount of surcharges applicable. This statement is correct because cess is tax on tax, so it is calculated on the total tax liability. So first statement is right here. So answer here becomes option A, that is only one statement is correct. Now next is question number 59. It says a country seeks to impose higher tariffs on imports from other countries. In this context, consider the following statement. The higher tariffs can lead to trade diversion, whereas imports shift to more efficient producers to the less efficient ones. What is trade diversion? Trade diversion का मतलब ये है कि मान लो फॉर एग्जाम्पल पर्सन इज बाइंग, हम मान लेते हैं एप्पल आईफोन्स, तो दैट इज अ गुड प्रोडक्ट, तो उसको बाय करने की बजाय ही विल गो फॉर द चाइनीज प्रोडक्ट्स, तो दैट इज ट्रेड डाइवर्जन, यानी प्रोडक्ट्स आर गेटिंग रिप्लेस्ड. सो ऑब्वियसली इफ आई हैव फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई हैव 1 lakh rupees, I can buy iPhone, but if this tariff has been increased, then what I am going to do? I will switch over to the Chinese products or any other products of lower quality or lower quality. So what we are doing is that we are shifting from more efficient to less efficient ones. So this first statement is right here. Second, reduction in consumer benefits to higher tariff is more than the potential producer gains leading to overall efficiency loss in the economy. देखो, जब भी टैरिफ को इंक्रीज किया जाएगा, एक को फायदा होगा, एक को घाटा होगा. फायदा किसको होगा? प्रोड्यूसर्स को होगा, जो डोमेस्टिक प्रोड्यूसर्स हैं. व्हाई? बिकॉज अगर किसी फोन को इंपोर्ट किया जाता है, कोई प्रोडक्ट बाहर से इंपोर्ट अगर किया जा रहा है, अगर हमने उसके ऊपर टैरिफ हाई लगा दिया तो क्या हुआ? उसकी वजह से उसका प्राइस इंक्रीज हो गया. तो व्हाट इज हैपेंड? वो जो पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट है जो इंपोर्ट किया जा रहा है, that particular product is becoming less price competitive. For example, मान लो उसकी एक्चुअल प्राइस है 70,000 रुपीज, पर आफ्टर इम्पोजिंग टैक्सेस इम्पोज करने के बाद उसकी जो प्राइस है वो बन जाती है 1,10,000 रुपीज. तो इस केस में क्या हुआ? वो प्राइस कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस लूज कर देगा. तो इट इज गोइंग टू डू, इट इज गोइंग टू हेल्प द प्रोड्यूसर्स. जो डोमेस्टिक प्रोड्यूसर्स उनको हेल्प होगी क्योंकि वो सेम अमाउंट में अपने प्रोडक्ट को बेच पाएंगे. तो इट इज गोइंग टू हेल्प द प्रोड्यूसर्स. हाउएवर कंज्यूमर्स के लिए घाटा होगा. क्यों? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल दे आर लूजिंग ऑन बेसिस ऑफ चॉइस. उनकी जो चॉइस थी वो उसको लूज कर रहे हैं. दे आर हैविंग लेस नंबर ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स इन द सेम अमाउंट. सेकेंडली, विद they are paying more for the same product. If a person has to buy this particular product only, then instead of 70,000 he is going to pay 1,10,000 rupees. So he is paying more. So it is going to negatively benefit, it is going to negatively impact the consumer, whereas producer को उससे benefit होगा. पर प्रोड्यूसर को बेनिफिट तभी हो सकता है जब उसकी प्रोडक्शन कैपेबिलिटी में कोई चेंज आए. और मोरलेस होता है क्या? हाइयर टैरिफ्स के साथ द प्रोड्यूसर्स एक्चुअली इंक्रीज देयर प्राइसेस इंस्टेड ऑफ इंप्रूविंग देयर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. तो जो इकोनॉमिक गेन ओवरऑल इकोनॉमी को होने वाला है, दैट इज वेरी लेस एज कंपेयर टू द लॉस दैट वी हैव. सो this statement becomes wrong because the overall economic efficiency of the country that actually declines. So this statement is right here. Third, as per WTO, the tariff increase must not exceed the bound tariff rates committed under WTO agreement unless renegotiated. So that is a very simple term because WTO का basic objective ही ये था कि the tariff should not be very high. So if you want to revise the tariffs, then you have to go for a revising the agreement also. So the third statement obviously becomes right. So answer is, how many statements are correct? Answer is option C, all the three are correct. Now next question is question number 96. It says, which of the following are most likely consequences of the gross fixed capital formation increase in the economy? What is gross fixed capital formation? It includes buying new machinery, या नई बिल्डिंग बनाना, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर क्रिएट करना, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, इवन ट्रेनिंग एस्पेक्ट भी इसमें आ जाता है कई बार. तो इट इज ऑल अबाउट इंप्रूविंग द ओवरऑल कैपिटल ऑफ द इकोनॉमी. लेट्स सी द क्वेश्चन. which of the following is our most likely consequences? Increase in aggregate demand in short run due to higher investment spending. Obviously it is going to happen. For example, government is building a bridge या government is building a new national highway. तो वो क्या कर रहा है? इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को बिल्ड कर रहा है. Now the for infrastructure building, what the government is going to do? Government is going to go out to the contractors and उसको contract देगी. तो whenever government is building a new infrastructure, it is pumping in money and government is getting infrastructure in response. So that money is going to market, and when that money is going to market, what is going to happen? It is increasing the aggregate demand. Why? When you are having more money, your demand also increases. तो आपकी डिमांड भी जो है वो क्या हो जाती है? इंक्रीज हो जाती है. तो इट इज गोइंग टू इंप्रूव द ओवरऑल डिमांड और एग्रीगेट डिमांड इन शॉर्ट टर्म. जब तक वो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट वर्किंग में है या जब तक वो बन रहा है तब तक आपकी डिमांड इंक्रीज होगी. वाई? बिकॉज यू हैव more money supply in the market, and that money supply is improving the aggregate demand of the economy. So the first statement is correct here. Second, decline in the share of the service sector in GDP due to higher industrial investment. देखो पहली जो स्टेटमेंट है वो तो आप इस चीज से भी कोरिलेट कर सकते हो कि कोविड के बाद इंडियन इकोनॉमी हैज ग्रोन वेल एंड इंडिया हैज इन्वेस्टेड अ लॉट ऑफ फंड्स इन दिस ग्लोबल इन द ग्रोस कैपिटल फिक्स्ड कैपिटल फॉर्मेशन. तो वी हैव इन्वेस्टेड अ लॉट इन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जिसकी वजह से हमारी इकोनॉमी का जो ग्रोथ है वो मेंटेन रहा है. तो फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट तो वहां से करेक्ट हो गया. नाउ सेकंड इज कि डिक्लाइन इन द शेयर ऑफ सर्विस सेक्टर ड्यू टू हायर इंडस्ट्रियल इन्वेस्टमेंट. देखो इन टुडेज टाइम सर्विस सेक्टर इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट फॉर द इंडस्ट्रीज. लॉजिस्टिक्स हो, कम्युनिकेशन हो, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन हो, एवरीथिंग. सो अगर इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रोथ होगा तो सर्विस सेक्टर ग्रोथ भी होगा बिकॉज गुड्स को ट्रांसपोर्ट करने के लिए सर्विसेज की जरूरत है. सो इट इज अ रॉन्ग थिंग टू से there will be decline in the share of the services. Service share may be maintained same or may decline a little bit. So it cannot be said definitely it will be declining because service and industrial sector are both interlinked and closely interlinked. So this statement becomes wrong. Third is improvement in the labor productivity. Yes, labor productivity improve होगी क्यों? क्योंकि better machinery होगी, better efficiency होगी, better training होगी. So it is going to improve the labor productivity also. So third statement becomes right here. And वैसे भी whenever we are investing in infrastructure, in the capital formation, it improves the productivity. For example, if you are having a old computer system that is slow and you are having a new generation of computers, then the speed will be high. So obviously the labor productivity increases. So answer here is option C, 1 and 3 are correct. Secondly, अगर आपने first को identify कर लिया तो सेकंड तो वैसे ही कट आउट हो जाएगा बिकॉज कहीं भी ऑप्शन में 1 and 2 नहीं है. सो आंसर बिकम्स ऑप्शन सी 1 and 3 ओनली. नाउ नेक्स्ट इज क्वेश्चन नंबर 97. विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग पॉलिसी मेजर्स इज आर मोर लाइकली टू हैव अ डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट ऑन रिड्यूसिंग कंट्रीज ट्रेड डेफिसिट. तो अगर इंडिया के ट्रेड डेफिसिट को रिड्यूस करना तो किसका इंपैक्ट डायरेक्ट होगा? लेट्स सी द ऑप्शंस. फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट इज लिबरलाइजेशन ऑफ द कैपिटल इनफ्लोज. देखो हमारा जो एक्सटर्नल अकाउंट है उसमें दो एलिमेंट्स हैं. एक हमारे पास है करंट अकाउंट और दूसरा है हमारे पास कैपिटल अकाउंट. सेकेंड वन इज कैपिटल अकाउंट. द करंट अकाउंट उसके अंदर क्या है? इन द करंट अकाउंट वी हैव ट्रेड बोथ विजिबल्स इनविजिबल्स, या कोई भी अगर रिनोवेशन बाहर से आता है, कोई भी अगर बाहर से कोई गिफ्ट वगैरह कोई चीज आएगी तो वो किस में आएगी, करंट अकाउंट में, यानी वट एवर विच कैन बी सेटल्ड इन 1 ईयर। तो इसमें हमारा ट्रेड डेफिसिट भी किसका एलिमेंट बन जाएगा, करंट अकाउंट का बन जाएगा। सेकंड इज द कैपिटल अकाउंट, जिसमें हमारे कैपिटल फ्लोज होंगे। कैपिटल फ्लोज यानी इन्वेस्टमेंट, एफडीआई, एफपीआई, थिंग्स लाइक दैट, तो वो किस में आएगा, हमारे कैपिटल अकाउंट में आएगा। नाउ द स्टेटमेंट इज सेइंग कि लिबरलाइजेशन ऑफ द कैपिटल इनफ्लोज, अगर हम कैपिटल अकाउंट के इनफ्लोज को लिबरलाइज कर दें, यानी हम और को आने दें, मनी आने दें, इजिली आने दें, तो क्या ट्रेड डेफिसिट के ऊपर कोई फर्क पड़ेगा? एंड इट इज आस्किंग फॉर ए डायरेक्ट इंपैक्ट। सी, इफ द मोर मनी इज फ्लोइंग इन द कंट्री, दैट मीन्स इट इज गोइंग टू इंप्रूव द फॉरेक्स, वो फॉरेक्स को इंप्रूव करेगा, एंड बाय इंप्रूविंग द फॉरेक्स व्हाट इज गोइंग टू हैपन, इट विल इंप्रूव द वैल्यू ऑफ द रूपी। तो वैल्यू ऑफ द रूपी अगर इंप्रूव होगी तो क्या होगा, अवर प्राइस कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस विल डिक्लाइन। वाई? अगर रुपये की वैल्यू ज्यादा है तो प्राइस कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस ऑफ एक्सपोर्ट्स विल डिक्लाइन, तो इट विल रिड्यूस द प्राइस कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस ऑफ अवर प्रोडक्ट्स और अवर एक्सपोर्ट्स, एंड इंपोर्ट्स जो वो इजीली आ जाएंगे क्योंकि वो सस्ते हो जाएंगे हमारे लिए, तो उससे ट्रेड डेफिसिट हमारा बढ़ेगा, तो कम नहीं होगा। तो फर्स्ट बिकम्स रॉन्ग। सेकंड, imposition of import tariff, obviously if anything that is coming from outside to our country, if we are imposing more tariffs here, that means the price is increasing. For example, iPhone ही अगर हम import करते हैं and we impose taxes on the mobile phones that are imported in the country, तो mobile phone की cost increase हो जाएगी, तो when the cost is increasing, demand is going to go down. Price and demand are actually inversely proportional. अगर हम प्राइस इंक्रीज करेंगे तो डिमांड क्या होगी, इट इज गोइंग टू डिक्लाइन। सो दिस सेकंड स्टेटमेंट बिकम्स राइट। थर्ड, प्रमोशन ऑफ एक्सपोर्ट ओरिएंटेड इंडस्ट्रीज, यस, अगर हम एक्सपोर्ट ओरिएंटेड इंडस्ट्रीज को प्रमोट करते हैं तो हमारे एक्सपोर्ट्स इंक्रीज होंगे, आवर एक्सपोर्ट्स आर गोइंग टू इंक्रीज, एंड दिस इंक्रीज्ड एक्सपोर्ट्स आर गोइंग टू ब्रिंग इनफ्लोज इन द कैपिटल अकाउंट, एंड दैट इज गोइंग टू डिक्रीज अवर कैपिटल, दैट इज गोइंग टू डिक्रीज अवर ट्रेड deficit. So this third one also becomes correct. So answer is option B, that is 2 and 3 only. So for question number 97, answer is option B, 2 and 3 only.